Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
I did almost slap the floor with one hand there.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best interviews as we head towards the return of sports.
Cautiously optimistic.
Mike Florio on loan from ProFootballTalk.com. We've been at this a long time, and we know how negotiations go. It's been embarrassing with Dak Prescott.
The longer you wait, the more expensive it will get. The moment you know this is your guy, pay him and pay him now because it's not going to get any cheaper. He has them over a barrel. The only weapon the Cowboys have left, they just rescind the tender and make Dak Prescott a free agent. Who in the hell is going to pay him $31.4 million? Who can? Everybody's got their starters.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
My dad's dead.
This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. It's hour one on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. I don't know how you celebrated Cinco de Mayo, but you probably had more fun than I did. Welcome to the show. Last night, I get home. My wife goes, we're going to do a virtual cooking class. And I said, what does that mean, hon? Well, you, me, and Molly, our daughter, we're going to take part in a virtual Cinco de Mayo cooking class. And I said, okay, what do I need to do? And then she said, well, you can make the corn. I said, all right. And then she'll make shrimp tacos. My daughter was doing the margaritas and the guacamole. And I said, all right, I can do this. I said, can I drink during the virtual tour, the cooking class? She said, yeah, but, to a minimum. And I said, well, what's a minimum? She said, well, how about one margarita? I said, all right. Well, how long's the cooking class? Oh, it shouldn't take that long. It doesn't take long to cook shrimp tacos. Yeah. Started at 5, gathering all the ingredients.
Oh, boy.
Got to 6 o'clock, went up on the Zoom, had all these people there. We had to go around the room. We had to tell them who you were and what's your favorite meal. And so I, of course, wasn't giving honest answers, which my wife was very disappointed. I said I was a male model, and, I'm holding my margarita. So we finally, the food was great, and the woman who puts on the class is a great chef, but it was 8:30. We started at 6. We were at 8:30.
Cinco de Mayo was almost over.
And I said, I gotta go. I got a half hour here before I'm going to be in bed. And so we went rogue. We hit mute, went rogue, another batch of margaritas, and we decided to start eating. And then that was my Cinco de Mayo last night. Throw in a beer, and I'm a little wobbly today, I will admit. My daughter made some mean margaritas there, and but I did it. Once again, guys, you have to understand, you got to take a couple of bullets occasionally, all right? Because this allows you to have a little bit more freedom. So when my wife says, now tonight for dinner, it's going to be probably something pretty simple. But last night, we were 2.5 hours in. I was the good soldier. My daughter and I kept cranking up the music, and my wife was saying, no, stop. Like we were LCD sound system. Daft Punk is playing in my house last night. And my wife was just going, stop. And my daughter and I were, and then we wanted to turn out the lights and make it a dance party. And yeah, that's how I roll. You want to roll with me, baby. Cinco de Mayo. Yes, Seton.
Because now you don't even have the built-in excuse of like, oh no, the game is on. I gotta watch this one. I can't do that cooking class.
I know.
You don't have any of that stuff.
When I say I got another episode of Better Call Saul that I gotta watch, I had no escape hatch here. Yes, Paul.
Did you get any questions because you're the sports guy? Dan, when do you think the NBA is coming back?
I don't think anybody had any idea who I was.
Well, that's a good thing.
Except for the chef. She's met us before, and she has a little. I think her husband's a big Met fan, but I didn't get any of that, which was good because I did. Hey, when do you think they're bringing sports back here? Would you go to a game and sit in the stands right now? Yes,
My usual response to like, hey, we're gonna do a like say an online cooking class or something. What do you mean we? Like what? Why?
Yeah.
Why would I be included in that?
I say to my wife, we don't have to do anything extra. We don't. I mean, it's good. Like it's conversation. It's fun. We're together, and then you do the virtual, and then I don't know if I'm on or not, and then I realize I am on, and then when she's asking me a question, I realize I'm not on, and then I'm talking, and then she can't hear me, and then I have to repeat. 2.5 hours. And then we didn't even get to make, I said to my wife, no, we're not doing dessert. Sorry, hon. You can, because I'm going to go smoke a cigar, and then I got an episode of Better Call Saul, and that's it. And I am Dunsky.
So what you want to do here with the cilantro is you want to chop it up really nice and fine. Okay, look at my.
And then we had to compare knives. You see this knife? It just became.
As you marinate the shrimp, think about where the shrimp came from and be one with the shrimp.
Yeah, it was. And then I got to find all the ingredients. I don't know where these ingredients are. I mean, I know where the staples are, the basics are. Like there's a lime zest and then there's lime juice. And I go, what's the difference between lime zest and lime juice here? And she goes, how can I love you but want you out of the kitchen? Like, you're adorable and you're annoying.
Were you trying to get thrown out?
Yes, I was. I was doing my damnedest. Whew. So, does anybody celebrate Uno Dos Seis de Mayo?
Yes.
I don't hear anybody ever say, man, I'm going to kill it on Seis de Mayo. Yes, Paulie?
I'm Mr. Seis de Mayo. I think today is a day we all should order takeout from a Mexican restaurant because they all got their business yesterday, and today is a down day. And stay with it. Don't be a quitter.
Seis de Mayo.
That's it.
Yes, Seton.
And see, if I was a company like Pepto-Bismol or something, I would own Seis de Mayo.
Great.
Because everybody went to town yesterday with like tacos and all kinds of, you're having margaritas and all that stuff. And then today you wake up and you're like, man, that's Pepto.
All right. Well, welcome to the program.
Are we on the air?
Yeah, I know. And then my wife always says, are you going to talk about this tomorrow? And I go, no. Why would I? She goes, okay, but don't do that. All right. Just, these are my friends. I go, yeah, I know. I didn't disrespect anybody. I like to eat. I grew up in a household that at 6 o'clock you ate. Every day, 6 o'clock. Not 6:01, not 5:59. 6 o'clock you sat down. 6 kids in the family. If you got there late, that was it. My mom, this isn't an Italian household where mom will cook more. This is an Irish household where that's what you got. And if you get there late, you get a bologna sandwich or an apple. And I tell my wife, she's Italian. We could eat around 8. No, we don't eat around 8, hon. It's almost bedtime. 6 o'clock is when we eat. We sit down. That's because I'd be in a panic. I'd have to get there at 6 o'clock. Sometimes I'd get there at 5:58 just to get my seat. And so my wife goes, no, they're very loose. When we went to Italy, I remember we sat down. You'd eat at 10 o'clock at night. And I go, hon, no. Can't. What's wrong with eating at 6 o'clock? Oh, it should take a couple of hours to eat. We ate as fast as we could because we didn't want somebody taking something off our plate, and you wanted to make sure you got a full meal there. That's just the way it worked in the house. We had the same meal on every night of the week. So spaghetti one night, then you'd have grilled cheese and tomato soup, tuna fish casserole.
Oh, the best.
We had ham. It was the same meal.
Meatloaf?
Yeah, hell yeah, meatloaf. That was it. So my wife, very loose with this, and it's an event to have a meal. With us, it was survival. I just sit there and go, eating isn't enjoyable to me. It was like a means to an end. And I had 2 older brothers, and I was like, man, I got to box them out here. That's why I weighed 148 pounds my senior year in high school. 6'3", 148. All righty. Welcome to the program. Gang's all here, ready to go. We'll talk some college football with Paul Feinbaum. Meta World Peace will stop by a little bit later on. Sure, he's got some Michael Jordan stories. Maybe he'll tell the story when he broke Mike's ribs back in early 2000. He'll join us coming up. This great program brought to you by 1-800-Flowers, the official florist of Mother's Day. 1-800-Flowers, beautiful Mother's Day gifts and bouquets to order. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and then you enter code Patrick. Good to go. NFL's going ahead with its schedule release tomorrow night. And for now, we might as well enjoy it. Start thinking about how fun these games could be, hopefully will be. And I know ESPN and NFL Network have set aside 3 hours for the schedule release. We already know what the matchups were going to be prior to this. You're not sure what those dates are, but there's not a lot of drama here. You're going to have one team that's going to be in prime time that hasn't been there in a while, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, they don't play the Patriots, which would have been great, but Brady and Breeze head-to-head twice. Brady, Aaron Rodgers once. Patrick Mahomes and Brady once. Mahomes and the Chiefs face the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, a duel of MVPs. And if you're a Cowboy fan or you root against the Cowboys, you got plenty of primetime games and a showdown with the 49ers. But a lot more detail coming up tomorrow night. And it feels like fantasy football at this point, but still should be a lot of fun to look forward to the juicy games of 2020. Here's another item. We had Mike Florio on yesterday. Love talking to Mike. He's always got some interesting things. And he brought up the following. Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. You look at the salary restrictions, the salary impact if you trade Aaron Rodgers. Now, it's going to be a pretty big blow to the Packers with their salary cap. But can you see Aaron Rodgers after this season playing someplace else? Still has a lot of money coming his way. Now, you're not going to let Aaron Rodgers go in the division. But then, you know, would he go to the Bears would be the one question, and they're not going to allow that to happen. This is something that I did not know. When Brett Favre was traded to the Jets, the Packers had a term escalating the price to 3 first-round picks if the Packers or if the Jets traded him to either the Vikings, Bears, or Lions. Now, he went to the Packers likely would have sent him to a contender elsewhere in the conference, but this is what will probably be the case with Aaron Rodgers, is maybe landing with the 49ers is one that he brings up. The other one is the Las Vegas Raiders. Florio says, makes sense to look at the AFC. If you're let's just say this happens. Let's just say, or just hypothetically. You're not going to let him go to the NFC, are you? Unless you know that you're going to get something in return and he's not going to come back and haunt you. So AFC makes a lot of sense. And then as Florio says, sorry, Derek Carr, the Raiders, that's the one team that stands out. John Gruden, Aaron Rodgers, Silver and Black, Vegas, makes too much sense not to happen. Other AFC teams that could be interested, the Patriots. What about the Colts? What about Jaguars? What about the Broncos? What about the Browns? What if Sam Darnold doesn't do enough this year to cement his grip on the job, Florio writes? What if the Jets opt for the same kind of all-in move they made 12 years ago when the Jets acquired Brett Favre? I know it's just speculation. It feels, well, you know, I've said it. Brett Favre said it. Many people have said it. I just don't think Aaron Rodgers ends his career as a Green Bay Packer. And maybe Aaron Rodgers says, all right, you guys have a different system here. You want to be running the ball. You want to be more like the Niners. Maybe this is going to be mutual. I think once Jordan Love gets to camp, you're going to know exactly what the Packers' plans are for Aaron Rodgers. Because if Jordan Love comes in and they go, talented, but, or if they say, oh my God, because that's what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs. You had a Pro Bowl quarterback who led you to the playoffs, and you go all in on Patrick Mahomes. When Mahomes got to camp, that's when, according to somebody who was there, said, oh my gosh, we've got a new quarterback. That was their reaction of seeing Mahomes when he got to camp. I don't know if Jordan Love is going to be that kind of guy. What if he gets there and you go, oh, my God, what did we do? What did we do? Aaron, come here. Let me give you a hug. Oh, no, I can't hug you, but come here. Yeah, you're going to know right away. Because that's what happens with these guys. When these guys get there in front of, your fellow competitors, it doesn't take long before they go, oh, my God. You're going to want to know, how sharp is he? Does he process? Those are the big things. They all have tools, but how good are you in getting that information? Kind of disseminating the information there in real time. That's the most important thing you have with these players. When they don't have to think, it just becomes the norm. They react. And you have that with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the great quarterbacks are able to do that. I don't know if Jordan Love can play at the next level. He's got the talent to play, but and Aaron Rodgers is going to know too, because he's going to see how people react to Jordan Love. And if he sees this, all right, I get it. They're kind of falling in love with him the way they did with me. When they brought him in with Brett Favre, it took a little bit longer because they changed some things mechanics-wise with Aaron Rodgers. Then they realized what they had. That's when Favre became expendable. That was 3 years. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is waiting 3 years here. All right, McLovin, you got a poll question for me? If you'd like to get in touch with the program, you can. 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle @DP-SHOW. Say good morning to our radio partners and, of course, those watching on it's YouTube, isn't it, Paulie?
Yeah, the YouTubes.
Yeah, the YouTubes. The YouTubers. You can go to Dan Patrick.
I think it's
YouTube.com.
I think if you go to youtube.com or search Dan Patrick YouTube channel, it'll just pop up. I think it's free, isn't it?
I said I'm a little banged up from last night, all right?
You were up to almost 8:45.
I know. But I was singing Daft Punk is playing in my house. It starts out great. It does. That song, like, boom, right away. Although I did watch the documentary on their last show, LCD Sound System at the Garden.
It's good, isn't it?
But I don't think they played Daft Punk is playing in my house, did they? Or did I miss that? Because that's the only reason why I wanted to tune in. Although I did see a lot of Talking Heads, the band Talking Heads in LCD Sound System. You can't help but listen to Talking Heads or LCD Sound System and not hear the Talking Heads influences there. But yeah, we were cranking. We were cranking last night. My daughter and I.
Jamming out?
Yeah, my wife was disappointed in us.
Because you were acting younger than
Immature.
your daughter?
Yes, I was. And then I did a video. So I did a video of us dancing, my daughter and I sent it to Darius Rucker because I was singing. And he just said, you two are crazy. He just went, ha, 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 ha. That was the only person I think I sent it to.
Do we have permission to obtain it?
No, we can't do that. There's some language on there.
Is that a hard no or
that's a hard no?
Because you got to give me two no's.
Not
or
to
else...
no. Can't do that. Hard no. There's some language. Yeah. I was having a good time. I mean, I was celebrating Cinco de Mayo.
Sounds like you got loose.
I did a little bit, as loose as I'm allowed to get in my kitchen with my my wife and daughter and a virtual cooking show.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
And let's bring in Dan. Dan, you're a male model.
Hi. My name's Dan. I'm a Taurus. I'm a male model. and what do you like to eat, Dan? I like pesto. I grow my own pesto. And then you could see the look on the people that are like, you don't grow pesto, you grow basil. I said, I grow my own pesto. And then my wife is like, stop. All righty.
I like that your favorite food is like a sauce.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's something that you put on food. It's not even actually food.
Exactly.
It's like, what's your favorite food? Ketchup. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Did your mom ever put water in the ketchup bottle to make it go around a little bit longer?
No.
Like my mom did. God rest her soul. She did the best she could. But I remember that we would get down to the bottom with our ketchup, and my mom would put water in it, and therefore it would go around a little bit longer. Yes, Todd?
Were times that tough? I know you also had shared a story that if it came to a bologna sandwich, only one piece of bologna would be between the bread there.
we didn't have any money. Like, I didn't know we didn't have any money until you saw people who had money. And but look, she did the best. My parents did the best they could because we didn't know we didn't have any money. But yeah, we got one slice of bologna, and I swear to God, if I held it, I could see through the slice of bologna. It was that thin. You got American cheese, bologna, some mustard on it, and an apple. That's what we had at school for lunch. I got to get sports back. I hit the wall. I officially hit the wall.
Yeah?
The quarantine sports wall last night.
Wednesday, May 6th is the day it all came down.
Mark it down.
Yep. This was it. I went, I'm watching Korean baseball. Oh, what am I doing?
You're going to go like the guy in Network. You're going to lose it today.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. All right, I'll get my act together. 20 after the hour. Take a break. We'll check in with Meta World Peace. Paul Feinbaum on loan from the SEC will join us as well. Got some college football news to talk about. Whew. Back after this in the Dan Patrick Show. You're checking things all the time. Email, your text, Instagram. Make sure you check something important like your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders. And you get it for free even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes if you'd like. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. You can learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Your mom was there off the 18th green when you walk off, and I don't know if you knew that she was going to be there. I think you even said, or she said, yeah, we flew in today. But your reaction was, hey, how are you? That sounds like somebody you just saw 15 minutes earlier, or you just came home from school. Like, I would have lost it if I saw my mom there as I won the PG, and you're like, hey, how are you? I'm like, okay, that's an interesting reaction.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, I mean, I had no idea she was there. And then all of a sudden I get surprised, and I mean, what are you supposed to say? I'm in this moment of, the happiest moment of my life. And then I look up and she's there, and sometimes you're just speechless. You don't know what to say. And, my mom, I love her to death. She's one of my best friends. We're so close, and I had no idea that she was even going to be there. And sometimes you just don't know what to say because she was crying. I'm like, what do you say? Like, I'm not the most emotional person, when people are crying and getting upset and so happy, and it's just kind of one of those awkward little things
and
where you just got to laugh at it.
Now, she used to work in TV, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She used to work for a TV channel down here, so she was a news anchor down here.
Wait, so you'd watch Mom on TV?
Yeah, and I get to watch her on TV when I was little, and the coolest part was she'd actually never seen me win a golf tournament.
That's the first time in person.
That's the first time in person she's got to see me win a golf tournament, other than when I was like 12 years old.
But Brooks, you just made it worse. That's a must-cry situation. Mom is there. She finally.
I actually teared up. But people don't know it. I kind of put my head down and kind of was like, all right, I don't even know what to do. I whispered some things in her ear. Probably the microphone couldn't even pick up. But it was really cool. It was really special.
What was your best moment ever against Kobe?
Best moment against Kobe? It wasn't many. It wasn't many.
But you were considered one of the great defenders. You were a lockdown defender.
Yeah.
So when you guarded Kobe,
the thing about Kobe is he never broke. I played against a lot of other all-stars at the time, run-ins for MVPs. And I was able to do what I had to do against the majority of them.
What do you mean he never broke?
Even if I was to stop him, 3 possessions, 4 possessions, he kept coming back. If I was to bump him, he wanted that physical play. He never backed down from physical play. Not once has he backed down from me. Now, it might have been a couple times where I stopped him defensively, but he continued to come game after game, possession after possession. It was really hard guarding him.
You faced Jordan when he was with the Wizards.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Jordan was great. Jordan was physical. I remember we played against each other in the summertime.
Because he's at the end of his career, and
Right.
you're young.
Right.
Is he still talking?
He was amazing. Jordan, he's still talking, still delivering. He wasn't as fast, but had a lot of heart still, could make big shots. The year he came back, he averaged 25. That year he was about to retire, and he came back, averaged 25.
Who's
amazing.
better?
Out of who? Him and Kobe? They're different players. They're so different, but similar movements. It's really hard to say. It's like if Jordan is better, then it's by an inch. If Kobe's better, it's only by an inch.
Oh, so you think it's that close?
It's very close. Because if both those guys were in their prime, playing against each other, they're both giving each other 50, Kobe is not going to stop Jordan, and Jordan is absolutely not going to stop Kobe.
Absolutely not?
He's not going to stop him. Kobe's not going to let you stop him. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Mike was a good defender.
Mike was great, but Kobe is amazing. Jordan cannot stop Kobe.
Got a stat of the day, got a play of the day coming up. We'll settle on a poll question here. I saw where Frank Gore, at age 37, is going to join the New York Jets. I like Frank Gore, but if I'm a Jets fan, I don't look at this and go, yes, yeah, we got Frank Gore. He's 37. You got Le'Veon Bell. Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer, but is he going to help, show them how to, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird signing there. Yeah, Paulie.
I actually love this for the Jets, and this is what the Jets should have done 2 years ago. Instead of breaking the bank for Le'Veon Bell to not help your franchise, get another running back and throw him in there for 1 year and have him get you 4.2 yards a carry.
But you have Le'Veon Bell.
You should cut him.
Well, I would have rather had Frank Gore. Where the Jets are, if I can get Frank Gore and he's not going to cost me anything, I'd rather have him. Like Le'Veon Bell, is he ever going to be what he once was with Pittsburgh? Probably not with the Jets. And the Jets aren't going to be winning more than, 6 or 7 games at the most this year. If I have Frank Gore and I put him in there, he would have made more sense bringing him in than Le'Veon Bell, because the Jets aren't going anywhere. But a 37-year-old running back. Marcus Allen was 37 when he scored a lot of touchdowns with the Chiefs. He didn't have a lot of yards. He had 400 yards or something. But I remember he had 11 touchdowns at age 37. Yeah, Paulie.
I have a Frank Gore-related poll question that's more about a concept than Frank Gore specifically.
Okay.
Which running back's career would you rather have? Frank Gore, 15 years, and he was a good running back every year. He averaged about 1,100 yards a year. He was never the best running back in the game. Never. Made a few Pro Bowls. He was a good running back for a long, long time. Or you could have the career of Terrell Davis, formerly of the Broncos. There was a 3-year run where he was clearly the best running back in the game. He was first-team All-Pro for 3 years. Then he got injured, and never really played football again. But for 3 years, he was the best running back in the game. And let's assume both are going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. Whose career would you want?
I would rather be Terrell Davis because I'm the best at what I did.
But there's so much left undone.
And I won a couple of Super Bowls and I won an MVP. I know it's what could have been, as Fritzy shows me his Terrell Davis jersey that he has on today. Thank you, Todd. I would go Terrell Davis just because he was the best at one point. Frank Gore, here's some numbers on Frank Gore. Frank Gore needs 2 more touchdowns. I think he's got 98 rushing touchdowns. He's got 1 less than Barry Sanders does. He has produced 19,000 scrimmage yards. That's 4th all time. He trails Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, and Walter Payton. He has gained 11 miles from scrimmage in his career. I don't think too many guys have a career where you're talking about, oh, how many miles did you gain? 11 miles from scrimmage in his career. Yes, Todd.
When is it, wow, that's a lot of yards, and when is it a compiler? Some people look at it one way, some people look at it as a negative. Well, if you stuck around and were able to stay healthy enough to play that long, you should have a lot of yards.
I don't look at him as a compiler because at that position, you don't get to stay around long enough to be a compiler. And what he's done, I mean, it's truly remarkable. He had both knees surgically repaired. They didn't even know he could play in the NFL. I mean, truly an amazing, amazing athlete. But Frank never had, I can't remember a highlight reel where I go, oh, remember that run that Frank had? Frank's the guy who shows up every single day. He's just a blue-collar worker. I'm going to show up. I'm going to play. I'm going to give you 1,000 yards. He's reliable. You never hear anything negative about him. And, he's going in. Le'Veon Bell averaged 3.2 yards per carry last year. Second lowest in the NFL. I can find any running back to do that. I mean, that's where the Jets went out and got Le'Veon Bell. And if you're ready to win, I certainly understand that signing. But given his track record, and you're bringing him into New York, and what are the expectations for you and the team? And neither lived up to those expectations. And you're paying him a pretty penny. Yeah, McLevin.
I mean, this is totally a player-coach situation. Like, he's there to help Le'Veon Bell act like a pro. The Jets aren't. I mean, Gore didn't average much more than Bell last year. It's not an on-field thing, is it?
Wait, now you're going to teach Le'Veon Bell how to be a pro?
I hope so. I mean, it's kind of like when they signed Al Horford to the Sixers just to get Joel Embiid to act like a pro, in my mind.
Okay. Is this like we're going to draft Jordan Love to send a message to Aaron Rodgers? Like,
there's no way Frank Gore has any impact on the Jets playoff run. And he's barely done anything the last few years, has he?
But what does Frank Gore do where Le'Veon Bell goes, so that's how you're a professional. Oh, that's what you do. Really?
I think that's what they say. Frank Gore is like the ultimate professional. Guys like to follow him.
But I can't imagine that Le'Veon Bell, like now you're going to get through to him. And he's not being professional?
That's true.
How old is Le'Veon Bell? 28?
28.
Okay. I'm guessing he's probably set in his ways. That Frank Gore comes to town and then Le'Veon Bell, unless he realizes that he could be cut if he doesn't get his act together. I mean, that would send the message. I don't think Frank Gore sending a message, at least I can't imagine that with Le'Veon Bell. But you got Frank Gore, got a quality person in there, quality running back, and a future Hall of Famer. All right, good luck with that. Yes, Todd.
And you're not doing it for financial reasons. It's not going to boost ticket sales. He doesn't have some great personality. It's not a big name. We don't even know when fans are going to be allowed to go into the seats anyway. So it's not a revenue boost by saying Frank Gore is a member of our team now.
Terrell Davis had 5,200 yards, almost 5,300 rushing yards between 1996 and 1998. That is the most rushing yards in any 3-year period by any running back in NFL history. It was and that's why I was a big spokesperson, a proponent for him getting into the Hall of Fame. At that position, I can't compare you to Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders. It's hard to do that at that position. And now, forget about it. The way we use running backs, you're not going to have anybody who comes close to these rushing totals. But Terrell Davis, those 3 years, they were the best team. He was the best player, and you won a couple of Super Bowls. Would you want longevity? You would. But at that position, you don't normally get longevity. Paul in Iowa joins us. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind?
Hey, DP. Third time, long time, 5'11", and stopped counting quarantine.
Okay.
Everybody's going to take Terrell Davis because he has rings, or 90% will. Make it a little more interesting. Would you rather have Frank Gore's career or CJ 2K? They both have accolades in their own regard, and neither one of them have a ring.
Chris Johnson or Frank Gore? Chris Johnson, and thanks for the phone call, Paul. Chris Johnson had the 2,000 yards.
He had about a 5-year run, Chris Johnson, where he was a top flight running back, but he had one monster season.
Yes, he did. And at the time, the fastest player in the league. Would I rather have that blast of dominance? Or I think I would take Frank Gore's. I think I would take Frank Gore because I got somebody who did it for a long. There was sustainability. There was sustained goodness, not greatness, but goodness there. If Chris Johnson won a couple of Super Bowls to go along with the 2,000 yards, then it's different. He had one incredible year. Who was the Ravens running back who had 2,000 yards in a season?
Jamal Lewis.
Yeah. So Jamal Lewis had 2,000 yards in a season. Yeah, McLovin.
But there's also a matter of style. You want to be Chris Johnson breaking those 80-yard runs. Nobody wants to be a Jamal Lewis or a Frank Gore. Like, you want to be the
No,
home runner.
I get you want a highlight reel. It'd be tough to piece together a highlight reel of Frank Gore, I'm guessing, or Jamal Lewis. Although Jamal Lewis, it felt like, had a few more highlights in there. But, yeah, you would want that. But Frank Gore's going to the Hall of Fame. And Chris Johnson is not. Yeah, McLovin.
I do agree with that caller. The Terrell Davis he has 2 Super Bowl rings, so he's sort of part of NFL history in a way that Gore is not.
If I just said, let's take away the Super Bowl rings, just the career, those are big numbers. Just the fact that he had the best 3-year rushing total in the history of the NFL. Yeah, McLovin.
And let's not forget that every other back after Terrell Davis in that illegal cup blocking system ran for 2,000 yards. Alandis Gary, Mike Anderson.
Oh, I know.
There was a little thing going on there.
Yeah, Shanahan had a system there with the Broncos. And, they didn't have great offensive linemen, but they had skilled tacticians at...
Dirty.
Dirty.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
Dirty.
Yeah, there are a few defensive linemen who had choice words for Mark Schlereth and some of those guys. Tim in Wisconsin. Hey, Tim, what's on your mind today?
Hey, bud.
Hey, bud.
Hey, as a lifelong Packer fan, I was really looking forward to the draft. And this was a chance after all these years that we kind of wasted to help Rodgers out. We get a chance to help him out. And I see that we draft a quarterback, and I was just thinking, not good. It was just, we wasted all these good years and you guys showed the stat that he hasn't thrown to but one first-round draft pick.
Yeah.
And we actually get a chance. I think he's too much of a competitor, though, to want to show people in Green Bay that, he's still got it. I can't see him leaving Green Bay anytime soon. And maybe that's just being naive that, we just want him here so much and we need him as a quarterback. But
it might not be his choice, but thank you, Tim. If you're changing your system, why do you need Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that would be my thought process. It's a very expensive quarterback who's going to be handing the ball off. Because if you're going to have him be Jimmy Garoppolo, and you have Matt LaFleur looks up to that 49er offensive system. Kyle Shanahan with what he's doing, that's what they want to incorporate. If I have the GM who wants the quarterback and drafts him, I got a coach who wants more of a running style, why do I have Aaron Rodgers? Trade him to an AFC team, get some picks, start the rebuild with the Packers. Because, and I truly believe that the front office realized they are not a 13-3 team like they were last year. I thought they were a 10-win team at best. Remember when they beat the Bears opening game? we looked at that as maybe an upset. I mean, we thought, well, the Bears, man, they're going to the playoffs again. Bears had the coach of the year, Matt Nagy, the year before. And then all of a sudden, hey, Packers beat the Bears. Wow, that's a surprise. No, it wasn't. But the Packers weren't a great team last year. Good team, not a great team. Look at the over-under Vegas. It's 9. I think 9 for a team that won 13. How often does that happen? You win 13, and your over-under on wins is now 9. So you reduce it by 4. That's saying a little bit about what they have there. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, he may go, the NFL is about wide open. Get me some weapons. Let's go. Everybody wants to follow the Kansas City Chiefs here. Green Bay's going oppo. They're like, no, we want to get back to Lombardi's Packers here, where Bart Starr throws only occasionally to Boyd Dowler. That's an interesting philosophy there. If you have a great defense and you want to run the football, I'm all in. If that's your philosophy, you can run the football and you have a great defense, I get it. Well, you got a talented running back. I don't think your defense is great, and you're going to try to emulate the Niners, and they're still better than you because they have an elite defense, and they ran the ball down your throat. You couldn't stop them. Other than that, enjoy the season. Take a break. Play of the day next.
It's the 50th anniversary of the release of Abbey Road.
Okay.
Which got me thinking about years in music and decades in music.
Okay.
If you're on a desert island, which decade would you could bring records from only one decade. I gave you 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, or 2010s. We can get into it later, but I'm curious what people would pick. Does it depend on how old you are too, obviously? But
Yeah. Well, no, I find that, my kids like the older music. Like me, I just say, look, you have your music that you like, but this is sustainable music. Like a lot of these bands are still performing. And I said, that's what I look for. I want somebody who's going to be there continuing to do it. Aerosmith is still performing. Robert Plant is still out there singing. John Fogerty is out there. Pink Floyd, variation of that. They're still out there. The Who is still touring. The Stones are still touring. We lost Prince and we lost Bowie, or they would still be out there. That's pretty incredible. I would probably take the 60s, even though, I had the 70s as my soundtrack, but the 60s was pretty incredible.
Didn't music in some people's minds get bad in the 70s, like sort of like the briefcase rock? You ever heard that expression where like the corporate took over and had like a lot of pop songs, like rock became more poppy?
There was disco.
Yeah.
I was not an 80s fan, big hair bands. I didn't like the 80s as much, even though I was spinning records in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Wasn't as big. Yeah, see.
Briefcase rock is great.
I never heard that before.
When corporate came over and took over rock and like came up with bands like that Fritzy likes. Instead of like hard rock bands like the Stones and Zeppelin, who became like Leo Sayer and Chicago and stuff.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, Chicago's a great band.
Yeah.
I can't think. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, they're not a pop.
You're going Peter Cetera era.
It's like a 70s band that was sort of like watered down. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
I got you.
Well, you give me Hall & Oates, Billy Joel, Survivor. I'm Run DMC. I'm a happy camper.
Is it like Foreigner? Like those kind of bands?
I think Foreigner's underrated. Foreigner's got a lot of hits there. But, they were there with the Cars, and there was this group of those bands there.
Maybe I made up Briefcase Rock. I just Googled it, and I've shown several kinds of very hard to break briefcases here.
I've been trying to Google it too, and I can't find anything.
That's pretty good, though.
What about like Huey Lewis? That would be Briefcase Rock.
Yeah, that would be.
Did music become more corporate sometime late 70s, early 80s?
Yes. Well, you used to have these great stations, and you had MMS, MMR, you had KFOG, WEBN in Cincinnati. You had just wonderful album stations, and you could hear, you weren't hearing the same song, it felt like, every hour. And then we got to the point where you were going, okay, I'm going to play pop music. And I mean, that's what music is now on some of these radio stations, where it's just, let's just continue to play the hits. And the rotation, there's not a big rotation of how many hits they're playing. Yes.
Yeah, like at some point, it changed into a more streamlined business, radio did, right? Where it was like, that's where you came up with this sort of formula of how to, play the hits, right? And you're not gonna veer away from this formula. You're not gonna play the songs longer than, the X, 4 minutes or whatever it is. Was that the 70s? Was that the 80s? Was it earlier?
The 60s started out, I think you had to have these 3-minute songs. Maybe that was the 50s and bleed over to the 60s. And then, you had Stairway to Heaven, you had Free Bird, you had some of these songs. I don't know what the first long song was. Did the Beatles have a long song and then people said they won't play that on radio?
What about in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? They talked a lot about that one going over the limit.
Which one was that, though?
The song Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, that was I think revolutionary as well. I don't know if that was where all of a sudden you're going to play a 7-minute song or 6-minute song.
Feels like something the Beatles would have invented, right?
But a lot of their songs are about 3 minutes long. And do you have that now? It's almost like you're not having long songs now. Feels like you can play more songs and have them less than 4 minutes.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! Ready to play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Check this out.
20-year-old Kerry Wood gets Derek Bell for his 20th strikeout, a National League record. He has his first Major League complete game and shutout, and it's a one-hitter over the Houston Astros. They're mobbing Kerry Wood at the mound.
Can make a case. Might have been the greatest pitching performance ever. Courtesy of Major League Baseball on this day, 1998, Kerry Wood, known as Woody. And he struck out the Houston Astros, 20 Astros. So you had Biggio and Bagwell. You had Hall of Famers in there. Moises Alou. And you had a lot of good hitters in that lineup. There have been a couple of times in my career where I've seen pitchers do something with a baseball that I had not seen before. Kerry Wood's breaking ball, I don't know how many feet it broke, but it defied logic. You're just watching it and you're going, it feels like an optical illusion. The Astros had no chance that day. None. And they'll admit it. They had no chance. Now, I saw Dwight Gooden when Gooden was at his peak, and he had an ability he could bring heat, and he had a great breaking ball. Steve Carlton with that slider that was always, it just died in the dirt and guys still went after it. Randy Johnson, another one like that. You just see some of these pitchers and you go, that is not normal. When Clemens was with the Red Sox in his prime, he had that ability to just rear back and bring it. Guys who pound the strike zone. This was different with Kerry Wood. He had great velocity, but he also had that breaking ball that was just not fair. When Nolan Ryan learned how to throw a changeup that was representative of his breaking ball, that's where he started all those no-hitters. What do you have, 7 no-hitters? Probably could have had 19. I think he had 12 one-hitters. He could have had 19 no-hitters. It's that breaking ball. These guys have, everybody throws 95 and plus, but when you have that breaking ball, and you deliver that with the same arm slot as you do your fastball, not fair. Not fair. That's our play of the day. Play of the day brought to you by 1-800-Flowers. They have limited delivery, so it's important to lock in your order. You have to do it today. 1-800-Flowers, beautiful Mother's Day gifts and bouquets. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the radio icon, enter the promo code Patrick. Now, I'm leaving out a lot of pitchers. You know, Clayton Kershaw had that ability too, where you throw that 12-6 breaking ball. You know, Vida Blue was a guy that I just admired because he just pounded the strike zone. But when you add that element of the breaking ball, it just changes so much, because now if you're sitting on fastballs, which is what these guys do, unless you're the Astros and you know what's coming, it's really hard to, go, I'm sitting fastball, and he brings the breaking ball. You have no chance. None whatsoever. Yeah, Paulie.
I was watching MLB Network the other day, and they were doing a thing on different pitchers' Cy Young seasons, and they were showing highlights of Barry Zito when he was like 23, 24 years old with the Oakland A's.
Yep.
And he had a fastball that was only about 88, 89, but it was straight. And then they were breaking down his curveball, and his curveball was this big looper. And I don't know who the analyst was. He goes, the way he released it and held it was exactly the same.
Yeah.
So the hitters are up there thinking it's either going to be 88 or 65 and a big hook. And they even said like one of the toughest pitchers to hit at his time.
Johan Santana of the Twins had a run where he was arguably the best pitcher in baseball. And I go back to this because Harold Reynolds was doing Baseball Tonight with the mothership back then. And I remember saying, why can't they hit his changeup, Johan Santana? He said, all right, I'm going to show you the arm angle. One is his fastball, and the other is his changeup. You tell me which one's which. And he put them side by side, and I go, oh, my God. He goes, exactly. He goes, now imagine being at the plate, and you see that arm angle, and there's no difference. When guys tip their pitches, that's when hitters, they tee off because now you've given them a little bit of a heads up there. Now I'm looking at the release point, guys who may lower their arm slot, guys who hold their glove differently for a breaking ball or fastball. So many little things you're looking for, and hitters are looking for that edge. And the fact that you're looking and you don't see anything with Johan Santana, he was never the same after he threw a no-hitter, but man, you just watched him. And you just said that's just not fair. It really wasn't. Guys who blow it by you, that's one thing. It's the guys who, kind of finesse you a little bit. Maddox was the same way. Maddox used to throw in the 90s, mid-90s. And then he stopped throwing that hard, and he made you get yourself out. But he was so good at throwing the ball where he needed to. Really, unbelievable. Greg in Cincinnati joins us. Greg, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, sir.
6'1", 210.
All right.
Hey, you're talking about Hall of Fame. Every time you talk about the Hall of Fame, it drives me crazy because I remember my days as a younger man when Kenny Riley and Ken Anderson had a good run, and they've gotten no recognition for that. I think that those guys have the kind of career that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think you would probably agree coming from this area.
Well, I don't have to be from that area to agree with you on that, but Kenny Anderson he's a borderline Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Had he beaten Joe Montana and the Niners in the Super Bowl, he would be thought of differently. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the voters look at this, not me. Kenny Anderson is a borderline Hall of Famer. I thought he was an elite. He was one of those guys that was completing a high percentage before it was in vogue. I think he had the record for maybe 20 consecutive completions one time. Kenny Anderson came out of Augustana College in Indiana, and he was a very good quarterback. Maybe not great, but he was very good. The Hall of Very Good. And Kenny, Snake Riley, was a wonderful defensive back. Wonderful defensive back. Now, I don't know where he ranked. I mean, you'd have to have people who break this down. I just know that the Rattler, I should say. I call him Kenny Snake. I'm talking about Stabler. But if you're playing in Super Bowls, winning Super Bowls, that certainly helps. Oh, Bengal talk here. How about this? 7 no-hitters for Nolan Ryan, 12 one-hitters, 18 two-hitters. He could have easily had 25 no-hitters. God. Paul Feinbaum will join us coming up, and Meta World Peace. Final 2 hours coming up. Dan Patrick Show.
Dan, I saw that today is National Beverage Day, which is very vague. That's a very vague term, beverage, like something you drink. But it's National Beverage Day. So here's the challenge today. This is the old desert island question. You're stuck on a desert island. You only have one beverage for the rest of your life, beverage. And it cannot be water, and it cannot be alcohol related. So it's a beverage. Take a minute to think about it. There's lots of things. There's juices. There's soft drinks. I'm sure there's other things. I'm thinking milk. But you get one.
Are we going strictly on taste, or what's best for you as far as longevity or health or something?
Todd, the question is, if you're stuck on a desert island, you could have one beverage for the rest of your life with your reasoning, not mine. I'll start with you, Todd. What is your one beverage for the rest of your life?
Canada Dry ginger ale. I find it very soothing and relaxing. Probably not the best thing to have soda every day if that's the only thing you can drink, but I like a ginger ale. Does something to calm my nerves about being away from the world forever.
Okay, I'm kind of with Todd there, but I like ginger beer actually better. Ginger beer is just an offshoot of ginger ale, a little less sugary, a little more spice. Dan, you're up.
I'm gonna go non-alcoholic beer.
Okay, that is checking with the judges. That's accepted.
They're going to accept that?
That's accepted.
Yeah, because I'm going to be hydrated,
right?
Not dehydrated, and I'll get a little bit of that flavor.
Okay, then nice reasoning. Seton, what do you got?
Man, I'm having a real hard time deciding between iced tea and coffee.
Well, you don't really have to anything to stay up for on the island. It's not like
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The reason too that I think coffee is because you could drink it hot and cold. I'm not really like an iced coffee guy necessarily, but you could if you wanted to. So at least you get a little difference there.
We're going to allow both options, both hot and cold coffee.
You are. I'm going to go coffee then.
Checking the judges, that's accepted. McLovin, what do you have?
Coffee is my number one seed by far.
See, I don't understand that because you have nothing to be up for, nothing to stay awake for. You're stuck alone on a desert island.
You're very alert to the fact
Well,
that
what you
there's nothing
basically just asked is, hey, you can keep one of your many vices that you have, and damn it, I'm keeping coffee.
Fair enough.
I mean, you did take alcohol out of this.
That was a biggie.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much one person could just possibly deal with on a desert island.
We're going to do part 2 of this coming up. It's if I included alcohol, what alcoholic drink, cocktail, whatever, that's next.
All right, when you're watching the Jordan documentary, watch Michael's form, his release. Very underrated shooter. We look at him as a great scorer, but he had great form. Look at the jumper against Georgetown, where he's over here. Now, Mike sometimes would get off. He wouldn't square up, but his release is great. And he keeps it up there too. And all you shooters out there, if you're learning to shoot, keep the hand up there. Because sometimes shooters will short arm instead of falling all the way through. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
I did almost slap the floor with one hand there.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best interviews as we head towards the return of sports.
Cautiously optimistic.
Mike Florio on loan from ProFootballTalk.com. We've been at this a long time, and we know how negotiations go. It's been embarrassing with Dak Prescott.
The longer you wait, the more expensive it will get. The moment you know this is your guy, pay him and pay him now because it's not going to get any cheaper. He has them over a barrel. The only weapon the Cowboys have left, they just rescind the tender and make Dak Prescott a free agent. Who in the hell is going to pay him $31.4 million? Who can? Everybody's got their starters.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
My dad's dead.
This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. It's hour 2 on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Hope you had a great Cinco de Mayo. We're going to start celebrating the 6 de Mayo, the day after. I don't know what we're celebrating, but maybe we should do that because there's a lot of pressure on Cinco de Mayo. And if you missed the first hour, you're lucky because I talked about my virtual cooking class last night with my wife and daughter. Took one for the team last night, but 2.5 hours in, I said to my wife, when are we going to eat? All we're doing is making tacos, and guacamole, and some margaritas. But I survived there. I made it through. All right, Paul Feinbaum is going to join us coming up a little bit. College football news, talk to him about Meta World Peace. Former NBA player will stop by. Jets signed Frank Gore at the age of 37. He could end up second on the all-time list in yardage. He's got 11 miles from scrimmage in his career, going to the Hall of Fame. But at age 37, are they bringing him in to help Le'Veon Bell become Le'Veon Bell again? I was talking about at the very end of last hour, we had a caller from Cincinnati bringing up Kenny Anderson and Ken Riley, who played for the Bengals. Kenny Anderson was the first quarterback to complete 70% of his passes in a season. That was 1982. That record stood till 2009. What he did in 1982 lasted until Drew Brees broke it in 2009. Kenny Anderson lost his Super Bowl. He lost the Super Bowl in Detroit to the 49ers and Joe Montana. He played in Cincinnati. He was a very good quarterback and borderline Hall of Famer. But and we got on that topic. I don't even know how we got on the topic. Well, we were talking about running backs and Hall of Fame. Would you rather have Frank Gore's career or Terrell Davis? And I said Terrell Davis was the best running back during a 3-year period in the history of the sport. He gained more yards in the 3-year period, back to back to back, than any running back has ever done in his career. Career cut short, a couple of Super Bowls, won an MVP, but Frank Gore is going to the Hall of Fame. McLevin, what poll question? Are we going to stay with the poll question from last hour?
Well, yeah, we put up whose career would you want, Terrell Davis or Frank Gore. 70% went with Terrell Davis. So I guess, I think it's the Super Bowls, to be honest. I'm not sure if you took them out, it would be the same result. A couple other NFL polls, if you want to hear them. Okay, which division champ is most likely to fall off their perch? And I'll give you the top 5 most likely. The Packers, Eagles, Texans, Patriots, or Saints. And I put the Saints in just because Tom Brady's in their division.
I am going to say the Texans. I think the Colts are the class of that division.
Well, what about the Titans, too? Aren't they right there?
I think the Colts are better than the Titans. But, you know, the Titans might be better than the Texans. We saw that at the end of the year. Will they be able to be that same team with that same style this year? That's what I'm curious about with the Titans. They sort of surprised everybody second half of the season where it was basically, you know what's coming. Can you stop it? And teams couldn't stop Derrick Henry. But I would say the Texans, I don't think anybody has taken that. You know, Buffalo might be close to being on the same level with New England, but I'd still take New England. I love my Bills, but I would still take New England. Here's a couple of items here. Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick said that, quote, there's a significant chance the college football season could begin without all the conferences starting at the same time due to the pandemic. What I told you yesterday, the information I got is the Pac-12's in trouble. That's how it was labeled to me because of the travel restrictions, what's going on in California. I think David Shaw, Stanford's head coach, is set to join us on the program tomorrow. I can ask him about this, that you were going to play 10 games. This is what I was told. Now, whether this happens or not, this is what is on the table with these commissioners. You play 10 games, 9 will be conference games, and then you're going to be playing somebody, a regional opponent. So maybe you take a bus and you're not. They want to restrict traveling. That's the big issue. And the Pac-12, you got to travel. And that's going to be a big problem for some of these schools. Yeah, Paul.
I'm most curious to see what happens, for instance, just an example, if USC decides to have classes in person with students in the fall and Stanford does not. And somehow there's a rule that if students aren't in classes, the kids can't participate in sports, which wouldn't surprise me if that's like a university rule at Stanford. Which rule would supersede? The Pac-12's rule of playing football or Stanford's rule? Again, Stanford hasn't said this. I'm just using them as an example. If two teams in a conference have two different plans for the school year, how does that work out for sports?
Well, also, could the SEC go rogue and just say, we're playing football? I mean, you guys do what you want to do. We have no commissioner. Like, you have nobody who's overseeing this. Mark Emmert is not overseeing this. The SEC is more powerful than the NCAA. I mean, just being honest with you. The SEC could just say, hey, we're playing football. And when we had their commissioner on a week ago, they're planning on playing Labor Day. And I don't know if you have the Big Ten, it will do the same. It really depends on the proximity of your schools and being, because it's state by state of what is allowable, what's going to be permissible. And we're not going to have fans. Will it be pushed back a little bit? I think it's going to be delayed. Therefore, you're going to only have 10 games. You'll have 9 conference games, and then you would have, a game outside of the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC. That's what I'm being told. But, Kirk Ferentz, the Iowa head coach, will join us tomorrow. David Shaw from Stanford will join us on Friday. But we'll talk to Feinbaum. He'll join us coming up. I'm being informed that the chat row, that's our locker room here, where the listeners are sequestered. There's a big debate, a heated debate about how great the Beatles were. McLovin, are you involved in this? Because
no. I'm scared too, because people are really passionate. Somebody had an interesting note in there saying that you can't trust anyone who does not like the Beatles or does not love the Beatles.
Can't trust them. I don't know if I'd go that far. I can't trust your music judgment. And I'm not going to assess you as a person if you don't like the Beatles, but I will assess your musical taste if you don't appreciate the Beatles. Is that what they're talking about? Or is this
No. They're going way beyond that.
My
This
God.
is a gloves off debate on the Beatles.
How can you debate the greatness of the Beatles? Paul?
I think the problem with people and the Beatles is they don't like being told that they're great and it being forced down to them that the Beatles are the greatest band of all time and you have to shut up now. I think people who are hardcore Beatles fans are not, there's no wiggle room with the Beatles. And people who are not hardcore fans of them are like, hey, I don't want to be told that they're the greatest. Let me decide for myself.
Well, you don't have to say they're the greatest or agree with that, but you, I think, have to have an understanding of what they did and how they did it and how big they were, that they went from being One Direction, a pop band, to becoming this, brilliant band with, the technology, everything that was involved in it. I am baffled when people say, like McLovin does, the Beatles are overrated. Yes, McLovin.
I think it's that One Direction period that confuses a lot of people because we hear the songs you hear are I Want to Hold Your Hand and the poppy songs, which do not fit that White Album era. So it's confusing because I wasn't there, but so I hear I Want to Hold Your Hand. I'm like, that's just it's Debbie Gibson for all, that's just a pop song.
But you're not, One Direction stopped there. I can't believe I'm bringing up One Direction with the Beatles, but you're stopping in the poppy period. Now look at what they did. And then you do the White Album and Sgt. Pepper. I mean, come on. Nobody
No,
comes close. Nobody comes close to that. No one.
How about like the Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, too?
No,
Those guys.
no,
They're not
no.
not close. That's
No, the Stones would be because you've got unbelievable songs, great music. They stayed together. You know, the Beatles were Sandy Koufax. You know, it was like an 8-year period where you went, they're the best. It's not even close. They're the best. And everybody who tried to follow suit with them and tried to do what they did, and it's just not close. No. And look, I have great respect for music and bands and those that stay together and those that happen upon the scene for a few years. What the Beatles did, and that music still plays. It does. Still plays. Yeah, McLovin.
Mick Jagger and McCartney have been giving a lot of interviews on this topic lately. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There was a big GQ article. Jagger pointed out that the Beatles never got to do the stadium tours, and he wasn't sure what would have happened. He said the Rolling Stones may not have been greater, but we lasted through that period, and he didn't know if the Beatles could do the stadium tours.
And what does that mean that they couldn't do stadium tours?
Well, he said the Stones were built to
they
play
didn't want
stadiums
to.
in a way. Yeah. No, Jagger was not denigrating. He admits the Beatles are amazing, but he's saying, like, give the Stones credit for sort of ushering in this huge stadium tour thing.
Well,
I can't see the Beatles really doing what the Stones did. Could they? You know, those
They look at what they did at Shea Stadium. Shea Stadium was so loud, the Beatles couldn't hear themselves. They created such a frenzy.
They didn't like it, though. It seemed like they pulled away from that.
They chose not to tour like that.
Right. That's sort of what Jagger's saying.
Well,
that,
I'm going to
like,
give him
this-
credit because they decided to do it and the Beatles said, no, we're not doing it. I mean, I give the Stones a lot of credit for a lot of things. But, hey, you played, stadiums. Well, congratulations. So did Oasis. Yeah, Paul.
The Beatles only toured for 2.5 years in America after they broke in 63, 64. Their last live concert was Candlestick Park in 66.
Yeah.
So basically, they had a less than a 3-year run of live touring in America. And they were together for 3.5 years, 4 years after that without playing live.
But they were cranking out albums. It felt like they were doing an album, maybe 2 albums, 1.5 albums every year, it felt like.
Here's a tidbit, by the way, I just found. The last concert the Beatles ever played was Candlestick Park. The capacity was 42,500 that night. They did not sell out. Only 25,000 tickets were sold, and the Beatles were frustrated by that because they didn't like that whole atmosphere in general, that big concert atmosphere. And then when they found they didn't sell it out, they were, I wouldn't use the word embarrassed, but in the story I'm reading that they were not pleased with how it went, whether it was the promoter's fault or whatever it was.
Okay.
Overrated.
Do you think they're overrated, Seton O'Connor?
Can't even sell out Candlestick. Really?
Do you think they're overrated?
The Beatles?
Yeah.
No, of course not.
All right. Well, good. We don't always agree with music, Seton and myself, but we agree on that. The Beatles not overrated. Todd, who knows nothing about music.
Yeah, a little much. I'm on the McLovin camp of I respect and admire what they accomplished,
God.
but some people could be great. It doesn't mean you have to love them just because they're great.
Yeah, you got to take time to listen and understand, I think, the greatness. I mean, it's not Hall & Oates.
It's not.
No, it's
I'm
not.
glad you.
No,
glad you said
they are not. In fact, that's McCartney's biggest regret. He and Lennon were just not Hall & Oates.
They wish they did. I can't go for that. No can do, but not everybody can do.
No,
that.
because that's a really complex song. That's very deep. Yes, Seton.
I think the Beatles are great, and I don't think they're
Here's a
overrated
but.
at all.
Here's that
I do
but.
think some of their greatness is attributed to the fact that there's like a generation of people right now who were teenagers then, who are sort of in control of like the media and everything else, and are obsessed with making sure the Beatles remain the greatest band of all time.
Wait, there's a movement of afoot here with younger kids?
No, I don't think. No, there's not. No, there's a generation of people who were teenagers. Then.
I thought the teenagers were coming.
No.
Oh,
The people
okay.
who were like teenagers when the Beatles came out, and they made a huge, such a huge impact on them culturally, that those people are now, all adults and, are in charge of sort of the media and record companies and radio stations and all of those things. And they are obsessed with the idea of the Beatles remaining the greatest band of all time.
Yes, McLovin.
The band that people don't like, or the guy that people don't like getting pushed upon, is Bruce Springsteen, because a lot of people are told you have to love the boss. I've seen that a lot where people rebel against that, and sort of I think he gets underrated sometimes because people don't like to be pushed on Bruce Springsteen.
Well, what gets pushed upon you was Springsteen in concert, not necessarily his music, but in concert. Because, you got to go sit 3.5 hours. Oh, man, he gives you everything. Okay, I get it. And I saw him on the Tunnel of Love tour, and he put on a great show. I saw him on Broadway, put on a great show. He's wonderful. I mean, truly, one of the greats, a singer-songwriter, which is rare. And the different genres that he's tapped into. I mean, listen to Nebraska. Good God. And then you do the Ghost of Tom Joad. And then you do this country album that he just put out. And then did a movie. I mean, his resume is unbelievable. It's true. It's truly, truly remarkable. It's like a better sounding Dylan, a more polished Bob Dylan. And sustainability, still relevant, powerful. Yeah, Paul.
For the past year or so, I've been listening to the Tom Petty channel. I think he's becoming, and he always was, one of my favorite artists, but he might be my favorite of all time because I just think his music is fantastic. It's bluesy, it's rockabilly, it's got strings, there's all kinds of different stuff. I don't think he was ever considered the biggest star in the world ever, or I don't know how he's going to be treated by history, but his music is fantastic. And even the stuff the B-sides I never heard before, I really love it.
I'm fortunate. My wife got me tickets. It was a few months before Tom died, and I always wanted to go see Petty in concert. And I was driving in today. I'm learning to fly, but I ain't got wings came on, and I just said it's a brilliant song, great sounding band. But he got in with the Traveling Wilburys, so he was in with George Harrison, Mike Lynn from ELO, and Bob Dylan, and so it felt like Petty was always overshadowed. There was always somebody else that was going to overshadow him. But you go back, he got hits, man. That's quite a catalog that he's got there. Yeah, see.
Have you watched? We've mentioned it a couple of times yet, but I don't remember if you've watched the Yesterday movie.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's cute.
I like it.
Yeah. So people don't know. They have never heard of the Beatles, and then this guy starts singing the Beatles songs. He becomes this huge hit, and Ed Sheeran makes a cameo in there, and it's cute. I liked it. Yeah, McLovin.
I watched it, came away with a new appreciation for how powerful the Beatles were. I loved it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, just the fact that they got a hold of McCartney, and Paul was like, "Yeah, you could do it." There was the other movie about Springsteen that they got a hold of Springsteen to say, "Can we do?" There was a boy in England who was obsessed with Springsteen and the lyrics that Springsteen out on a cassette. Yeah, McLovin.
It was called Blinded by the Light.
Yeah. All right, Paul Feinbaum will join us coming up. Let me get to Chip in Maine. Hi, Chip. What do you have for me today?
Hey, good morning, DP. How are you, man?
Good, sir.
Doing great. I just wanted to offer this. I think the Beatles, part of the attraction of the Beatles for music fans is we always, music fans often argue, who is the best band in the world versus who is the most popular band in the world, and those are seldom both. But I think the Beatles are unique in that for a moment in time, whether it be 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is, I don't think any other band can make the claim that they were both the undisputed best band and most popular band in the world at the same time.
All right, that's good stuff, Chip. Thank you. Yeah? And what else?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chip. Dan in Chicago, then we'll take a break. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan. Just want to say, I think for me, I just turned 30, and a lot of it depends on who your folks listening to growing up.
Yeah.
My dad was a big Zeppelin fan. Me and both of my brothers, the first phrase we ever spoke was Zeppelin rules, and he made sure of it. What I think a lot of it has to do is, again, what your parents listen to. Now, there is an artist that I did not grow up listening to that I'm absolutely in love with. Billy Joel, I think, is right up there with Springsteen, stands the test of time, great singer, songwriter, musician, showman. I've seen him in Wrigley like 3 times. So I think a lot of it just kind of depends on who did you grow up with, and if you are of the younger generation and can appreciate someone that you didn't have forced upon you, that really says something too.
I think there's something, and thank you, Dan. I think it's just by proxy where you're listening. I make sure my kids, when I'm at home, they're at home, I control the music. I want them listening to good music. And I said, look, you can introduce me to people that you like. Lizzo over Thanksgiving. My daughter's like, Dad, it's time, man. It's time. Post Malone, Dad, it's time. And I'm going kicking and screaming. And then all of a sudden I go, thank you. I enjoy Lizzo. I think Post Malone, he did the Nirvana concert.
Dude, did you watch that?
Yes. It was
so
great.
good.
Really good.
Great. Well, he's got a Nirvana lyric on his face. I just, I let them tell me some, musical artists that I might miss. And, sometimes I go, nope. But they have to know the core. They have to know what is great music. And that's Chuck Berry, Little Richard. I mean, there's other, influences. I mean, the Beatles were influenced by Little Richard and Chuck Berry greatly. The Stones and who influenced them, listening to those songs as well. Led Zeppelin influenced by black artists. Just understanding that, it makes you a little bit more well-rounded when you get into a conversation with the chat row. Take a break here. More phone calls coming up. I don't know if Paul Feinbaum loves music. If we're trying to guess Paul Feinbaum's favorite band.
He's 64. He's from
When I'm 64.
He's 64. He's from
no,
Memphis,
Paulie,
Tennessee.
I got to go to break.
Oh, I'm just giving you the setup.
No, we got to wait, and then we get fine. But you do your research during the commercial break.
All right.
All right, thank you. 21 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. 1-800-Flowers, official florist of Mother's Day. Mother's Day is this weekend, by the way. We just got a delivery from 1-800-Flowers. Back there on the bar, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Of course, those are going to make their way to my wife. She doesn't know that. 1-800-Flowers. They have lilies, they have daisies, they have roses, all in bloom. They look great. They're going to last a long time. Guaranteed freshness. They're committed to safety with their team members and your family. So when they make the delivery, there's no contact there. Pick an early delivery date, ensures your bouquet will arrive on time to make Mom's Day special. In fact, if you're watching right now on YouTube, you can see the flowers that I have on the bar there. And make sure you order before Friday so Mom gets them on time. 1-800-Flowers.com. To order Mother's Day gifts, bouquets, arrangements, go to 1-800-Flowers.com. You're going to see that radio icon. All you do is enter code Patrick. Order today. Save it. 1-800-Flowers.com. Code Patrick.
Guys, it's part 2 of National Beverage Day. Nobody celebrates National Beverage Day like we did. So we did the old Desert Island thing, and we each gave our non-alcoholic beverage that we'd have with us. Now, if I allowed you one alcoholic beverage, it could be a spirit, it could be a beer, a type of beer, it could be a cocktail where it's all mixed up together for you. Seton, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, man, why did you do that?
I know.
Why did you start with me? What is it about desert islands, by the way, and like pirate movies that everyone's drinking rum? Why is that? Why is rum such a popular drink? Because now I feel like I'm supposed to say rum, even though I never drink rum. I don't really care for rum at all. I don't know. Do you just go beers?
Beers is your answer. Final answer accepted. Now, Dan, I'm going to go you next. Or do you want to wait? You're the boss.
Well, the back row's not going to have any.
Well, let's find out. I'm going to save you, Dan.
Okay.
McLovin, what would you have if you have one other drink besides your initial drink, which was coffee? Anything else?
No, I'm out on the alcohol, but I'll have what I like? A virgin pina colada, which goes back to my high school days.
Yeah.
The virgin part of it?
And you got just as
Yes,
many
not the pina colada.
You got just as many women in high school as you're going to get on this desert island. Fritzy, what do you have?
I think I'm going to go with a Shirley Temple, but with as minimal alcohol as possible.
There is no alcohol whatsoever in a Shirley Temple, so there's no alcohol in a Shirley Temple. By definition.
They can't put a little alcohol in a Shirley Temple?
No, because by asking for a Shirley Temple, you're asking for a drink with no alcohol in it.
You know what? I don't like the taste of beer or alcohol. I'll have a little grape wine at Passover, so I'm going to have to go with a Shirley Temple without the alcohol.
It is without the alcohol.
That's like saying hamburger without the cheese, Todd. I'm going to go next, and I'm going to
No
go
meat hamburger.
I'm going to go ice cold beer. It's got to be ice cold though. So I don't really care what kind of beer it is, as long as it's very, very cold. Dan, you're up last.
By the way, Paul, you were too embarrassed to go with your dark and stormy because you know I'd make fun of you.
Oh,
Possibly, but I've already got
early.
He's already got the ginger beer, so
I already got the ginger beer, but I'll just borrow Seaton's rum.
Dark and stormy.
Dark and stormy is
Which
awesome.
is fancy rum and Coke.
Okay, virgin, whatever it is.
yeah, pina colada guy.
Do you like it with Malibu, Paulie?
All right, Dan, put this one to bed.
I'm gonna go red wine.
Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna go red wine. That I think I could survive there.
Maybe from a farm in the county of Boone, or do you have something
No.
higher end?
No, it'd be higher end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'd be higher end.
No, that's it. National Beverage Day.
Well, I just got some information. Tyler, the moderator, moderates the chat row. He said there was no real debate about the Beatles in the chat row. McLovin may have sensationalized this a little bit. Embracing debate, apparently. So we'll check in with McLovin. Poor Tyler, the moderator, got roughed up by chat row. They said, you leaked this information. So Tyler's back there ducking for cover. All righty. Let me see. We'll talk to Meta World Peace coming up in a little bit. Let's make way for Paul Feinbaum, the popular New York Times bestselling author, ESPN commentator, and you can listen to him on ESPN Radio every single day, Monday through Friday. All right, here was the guess. Paul, we were wondering your favorite artist or band growing up. Now, save your answer. I'm going to go, you're from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to go Elvis Presley was your favorite artist growing up. Paulie, you got one?
That's a great guess, Dan. I'm going to go close to that. I'm going to go Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. All right, let's bring in Paul Feinbaum. Paul, your favorite artist?
Yeah, neither of the above, I might add. Growing up and into college, my favorite artist was Neil Young.
Okay. All right. That's good. I mean,
he was so depressing, and it fit my mood at the time.
All right, that's all we wanted to hear from you, Paul.
Okay.
So
see you guys.
Have
Thanks
a great
for checking
afternoon.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm wondering if we're going to see conferences come back and play. You know, could the SEC go rogue in a situation like this with college football coming up, that they're going to play their schedule and they don't worry about the other conferences?
Dan, I don't think they will, and I know what the reputation is. I live down here, but I think the SEC would certainly like, let me use a NASCAR phrase here, like to have a drafting partner. They don't want to be alone, and I don't think you could see several conferences do it and some not, but I don't think you'll only see the SEC play college football this year.
The state of college football right now feels like it's on hold, but what do you need to see before you think we're going to have, first of all, games, and will we have fans in the stands?
Well, I think to start, I do not believe that college football will be played this fall unless there are fans in the stands, and most important, Dan, students on campus. And I know we're not to try to make college football sacrosanct here. We all know what it is. But I think the people that run these universities, the college presidents, are not going to take that type of hit. They'll do almost anything for money. That's been proven time and time again. But I think the look would be so bad. And I've spoken to countless commissioners and athletic directors and coaches. And while there may be a desire and a need to play to stay afloat, I don't believe the overwhelming majority of colleges will play unless they can get students back. And I'm not talking about online. And that is why now that the draft is passed and ultimately the Michael Jordan documentary will move on as well, I think the biggest sports question moving into the next 4 to 6 weeks is going to be college football, because it is a mystery. It's not like the NFL where you can quarantine and get players to sign waivers. It's real. And I've had parents of players call me on the air and say, I'm not letting my son play unless students are on campus. I mean, it is a really intriguing conversation.
I was told the Pac-12 is in a little bit of trouble from the standpoint of travel and, what's going on in California, the state of, California being quarantined. But is the SEC probably in the best shape with geographically, the situation?
Yes. And I think in the SEC, I live in North Carolina, and my state, well, it's not my state, it's Michael Jordan's state, has not opened up yet. It's one of the few. But not to get too deep into ideology here, but most Southern governors have followed the lead from the president and have opened up. And I think that makes it a little bit easier. But at the end of this conversation, they will have company. The ACC, as we all know, goes from Boston to Miami. So I think you'll see a majority of those states go along. The Big Ten is more problematic. I talked to a regent last night from the University of Minnesota who doesn't think we'll have college football. Who doesn't think a lot of things. So I mean, it's an amazing conversation, and I bet I've asked this question since March 12th 5,000 times and to commissioners and the like, and I don't know remains the most common answer.
Yeah, well, I think we've been setting these arbitrary dates, and I say it's dangerous because it gives people this false sense of hope that that's there, or that it's like, hey, everything will be good by then. And we're walking back these dates. And if the NFL comes back, if the NFL plays, though, Paul, I wonder what that does to college football and just putting pressure on, hey, the NFL's playing, why aren't you guys?
Well, I think tomorrow night is going to be interesting. When the NFL schedule comes out, I think the reality is going to seep into everyone outside of the NFL that they're back. And regardless, they'll figure out a way to get games in. And I think the most dangerous sign to college football is the story that came out the other day that the NFL, without college football, will play on Saturday and ultimately on Saturday night. So college football has already been diminished because of the NFL. I bet you go back 6-7 years ago, not only the NFL, but the NBA, 6-7 years ago, college football may have ranked number 2 behind the NFL. The explosion of the NBA has pushed college football back even more. So they do not want to cede that power. But here's the real issue in college football, Dan. I know you're a fan and you know what I'm about to say. Nobody is in charge. Yeah. This isn't like Roger Goodell can put out an edict or Manfred or someone else. There is not one person who runs college football. You have these 5 commissioners, and I liken them to the good old days of the 5 families who ran the mob in New York. And they zoom in every day like we are, and they have these conversations. And there's an ex officio member who really does have a vote, and that's Jack Swarbrick of Notre Dame and a few other occasional guests, as long as they bring good food. And that's where we are right now. And these are all very independent and autonomous thinking people. But I do believe when they say they want to find some common ground. You mentioned the Pac-12. That has been the outlier in college football for a long time. They have been nowhere to be found, at least other than I think twice in the college football playoff. So they will not be the most important component of this conversation.
It's Paul Feinbaum from the Mothership. You can hear him on ESPN Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 81, every single day. A couple other things. This conversation is starting to emerge now about, Trevor Lawrence and who's going to tank for Trevor Lawrence, like, the Dolphins were tanking for Tua. If Joe Burrow came out of nowhere and had this wonderful season, maybe the greatest season of all time at that position, if you were, investing in stocks and I said I gave you Tua, Trevor, or Joe Burrow in the NFL, what would you invest in?
I would invest in Trevor Lawrence. And we've already had the conversations about the other two, but I think he has the raw talent. When you look at Trevor Lawrence on a football field at ground level, it's astonishing to see. And he did not have a good year in 2019. I say that with his team being undefeated and only losing one game. I mean, but he was off. He pressed way too hard in the beginning. I think he was bored, Dan. I swear. He looked at the defenses, especially in the ACC, and said to himself, "I've got to challenge myself. I'm going to try to find the narrowest window I can to replicate what I'm going to do at the next level." And he struggled out of the gate. He found his rhythm later on, but I think he's the best of those three. Burrow is an enigma, and I still think he'll have a good career. I'm not sure. I think Joe Burrow will be a Hall of Famer. Tua is either going to be one of the greatest or a bust. And there's no way of getting around that one.
Yeah, the whole Trevor Lawrence, he can't miss. You keep hearing that, can't miss. It's like Andrew Luck. We see this occasionally, like once every generation. You have the quarterback. Andrew Luck was that. John Elway was that. I don't know if we've had another one, and then it looks like it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Would you say that he fits into that category and the expectations?
I do. And I think, don't forget he has a really good cast around him and has had that at Clemson. But there's just so much raw ability there. And I will add one more thing. I know you haven't, but Justin Fields is someone to keep your eye on as well. I realize that that's not breaking news. I think he's the number 2 pick to win the Heisman. But 2 years ago, he was in a backup position at the University of Georgia. So, I wonder, though, about where we all are as evaluators when you think about the last 3 Heisman winners had to leave where they were. And they were the number 1 draft choice as well because they couldn't get a starting job. Not to crack on Urban Meyer, but I will. Don't forget Cam Newton went to play for Urban Meyer and never saw a starting position, and neither did Joe Burrow. And they both were the first player taken in the NFL draft.
Oh, that's your parting shot. Good to talk to you, Paul. Hope you're well. Thank you, bud.
Thank you, Darren.
That's Paul Feinbaum. Yeah, I knew he'd get a shot in there at somebody. And Neil Young is his favorite artist. All to live on Sugar Mountain. All right, we'll take a break. Phone calls coming up next here on the Dan Patrick Show. Tougher to play or tougher to coach?
Oh, definitely tougher to coach. As a player, you're the one out there getting it done. Now I know why Jeff Van Gundy used to be when I see him in the morning, bags under his eyes, or Pat Riley starting to lose his hair a little bit. It's definitely harder, tougher to coach than to play. When you're the one that, as a player, you're the one out there playing. As a coach, you're the one that's trying to get the guys to do the things that you want to do to help them to win.
I was wondering if you find yourself channeling Coach Thompson by saying things that maybe he said to you when you're 18 or 19 years of age.
Sometimes. And one of the things that I've been telling the guys lately is, one of the things that he used to say to us is that, at this time of the year, those who can play. That meaning that you got to elevate your game. This is the time of the year for you to elevate your game if you want to, make a good run in the NCAA tournament, make a good run in the Big East tournament. And, that's one of the things I've been saying to the guys.
And then who came up with the idea of the John Thompson T-shirts on the bench?
You like that, huh?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. One of the guys who work here for us, he's the one who designed it. You know, we wanted to honor. You know, it's Black History Month. We wanted to honor Coach Thompson for all his work that he's done. And he came up with that idea, brought it to the Jordan brand folks, and they agreed with they liked it, and so we printed it out. And I thought it was a great hit.
Yeah, it was. And it's great to see Coach Thompson at the game as well. You're a kung fu guy, right?
Yeah, I love
You
kung
the
fu.
mo- Okay.
Love kung fu movies.
Jet Li, Bruce Lee in the octagon.
Okay. In the octagon, Bruce Lee wins because just by the sheer form of what Jeet Kune Do is. So Jeet Kune Do, which is just kind of an amalgam of all other martial arts. So all Bruce Lee would ever do is react to anything Jet Li did. Now, I don't know what expertise Jet Li has. Maybe it's Wing Chun. I don't know. Someone's doing research. But the fact that Bruce Lee's whole philosophy was being like water and taking whatever anybody's going to give you. I always wonder if two people like that who are experts, real high-level experts, if they would just be standing in the octagon. Like they would never strike each other. They're just both standing there going, no one, it's like the most boring match of all time.
Okay, but if Bruce Lee faced Keanu Reeves in The Matrix.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, is Bruce Lee in The Matrix,
Yeah.
or is he also jacked into a pod? Like, is he a human who's interfacing in the Matrix, or is he a program?
He's a program.
Now, if he's a program, then he loses because Neo can bend can bend the reality of the Matrix. So then he can't win.
But Bruce Lee might have been so good that he would have gotten out of the program. He would escape the program.
Actually, that's true because he was a philosophy major at Berkeley. So if he, can you just make sure I'm not just, make sure it's not
It
just
doesn't
complete
matter.
It sounds
bullshit.
good, though. It
It
sounds
does
good.
sound good. I
Yeah,
just said
yeah,
right.
yeah, no, it just-
I think you're right.
In your white guy voice, that sounded like you knew what you were talking about.
Right, exactly. Who went to Berkeley? I think now that's good. He could have. It's possible that he could go. Oh, I choose to not be a program, and then maybe that it renders you human somehow.
What about Jackie Chan, Jet Li?
As much as it pains me to say this, in the octagon, I'm taking Jet Li. And here's why.
Why does that pain you?
Because I love Jackie Chan as a showman and as a performer.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't actually know because of the way that they give the energy they give off on camera. Jackie's the clown. He's always on defense. Jet Li's always the badass hero. So I'm assuming he's a better martial artist, but I don't know.
Paulie, bring out Jackie Chan.
Oh God, wait a second. Hold on. Jackie. Why, he can't understand what I'm saying.
Get to some phone calls here. Are we going to have a Kevin Durant sighting if the NBA season resumes? Also talk about Michael Jordan and how he is going to be viewed once this documentary is over. I think you'll be surprised at some of our opinions on that. Butch in Ohio sent an email. He says, DP, I think people's affinity for the Beatles stems from the fact that in 1964, they changed the culture and the music industry forever. It's important to note how they evolved as well. Their music in 1969 is unrecognizable from 1964. They defined them by to define them by I Want to Hold Your Hand is very unfair. In a 5-year, 6-year period, they changed their style, their music, and you know, it as he says, it's if you said that's the same band that gave you I Want to Hold Your Hand, you'd say no way. You know, Revolution, I mean, all those different musics and the things they were trying when they were recording. Just back then, you didn't have, you know, the technology you have nowadays. And maybe that made them better. I love the fact that George Harrison wrote some of the greatest songs of all time. And they looked at him like the little brother that maybe one day you get to write a song on an album. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Good God. Where's that come from? My Sweet Lord. God. And those stand alone. He couldn't get on the albums. Now, maybe Paul and John were bullies, but George wrote some beautiful songs. Wynn in North Carolina joins us on the program. Hi, Wynn.
Dan, thank you for taking my call. The email from Ohio you just referenced is spot on. My comment is twofold. One about the Beatles, the other about the best rock and roll band ever.
Okay.
The first is about the Beatles. I am 69 years old. In 64, I Want to Hold Your Hand came out. It was like a thermonuclear explosion over the culture of not only America and the world. So with all due respect, I think Mr. Perloff is profoundly ignorant when he just assigns the early Beatles period to some pop phenomena.
Yeah.
It's not. They changed the world forever, Dan. I mean, it's just that simple. Secondly, the best rock and roll band in the world is the Rolling Stones. Example or Exhibit A, Exile on Main Street, the best album ever done, followed closely by Lennon Calling on The Clash.
All
Peace
right.
out, folks.
Thank you, Wynn. Thank you, Wynn. Well, you had me until you said The Clash. And then I went, no, I'm sorry. I like The Clash, don't love The Clash. Exile on Main Street. Isn't that the one they recorded in the south of France?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the greatest album of all time, some of the Beatles aren't on those songs because they couldn't wake them up. Everybody was in a drug stupor back then, which maybe that helped them. I don't know. Yes, ignorant McLovin.
How can you love Led Zeppelin, who rocked so hard, and then sit by with I Want to Hold Your Hand? Like, I feel like you're more of a, you know, like, I don't know why you're not backing some of the harder rocking bands and the Beatles.
Well, no, I love them. But I have to. The Beatles are separate from the Stones and the Who and Zeppelin. You know, if you throw in Aerosmith or whoever you want to throw in there, I love rock and roll. The Stones are the greatest rock and roll band of all time. There's no doubt about that. And I saw them in concert back in the 70s. They lived up to everything I thought they were going to be. And then some. Saw the Who back in the 70s. They lived up to everything I thought. Zeppelin in the mid-70s, they lived up to everything. Pink Floyd on the Animals tour lived up to everything I thought. I didn't see the Beatles, but the Beatles were an experience. These other bands weren't an experience. The Beatles were a thing, like this moving thing. And their music has withstood the test of time. And you can play I Want to Hold Your Hand to The Long and Winding Road or Let It Be or whatever those songs are. And, I mean, the Magical Mystery Tour, Sgt. Pepper, I mean, it's just brilliant. Like, out of this world. Crazy greatness there. Yes, Eden.
Yeah, I mean, right, there's sort of, it seems like there's more of a cultural revolution thing, like where they changed the way people dressed and their haircuts and things like that, and it's wrapped up in more than just music.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you do have to just, you have to let go of just, I Want to Hold Your Hand and recognize them as the whole, like totality of the Beatles, not just the pop song.
I think because they did I Want to Hold Your Hand, and then you listen to what they wrote at the end of their career, that's where you go, oh my God. From A to Z, and it's the same band. Yeah, McLovin.
Are we going to address the fact that Let It Be and Yesterday are basically the same song? Or is anyone ever going to bring that up?
You're an ignorant fool.
It's a great song, don't get
but
me
I love
wrong,
you.
but it's the same song.
Okay. All right. Well, so is every AC/DC song.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a
Thunderstruck.
fact.
That is.
That's a fact,
Yes.
actually.
Yes, Paul.
The Beatles are kind of like in that Michael Jordan category where people will defend him to the death and won't hear anything else, which is fine. But it's almost like the Beatles could use a 10-part documentary now as a reminder. I don't know where it would go, but that's a band where if you're 17, you have no reference for the Beatles. If you're it's like you don't know Michael Jordan if you're 17, 18, 19, but this docuseries is giving you everything you need to know.
Yeah, but I think music is different than watching somebody play basketball where you go, okay, that's not my style of music. When you watch basketball, you're watching somebody do something you can't do. Now, you're listening to somebody do something you can't do, but it's just different with music. You may not like it. I can listen to Ozzy Osbourne. I'm not an Ozzy Osbourne fan, but I marvel at what he's able to do. I'm not the big Rush fan that Paulie is, but I marvel at what Geddy Lee does.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. I mean, but that doesn't, with Jordan, I mean, there's no refuting that. You just say, I mean, that's amazing.
You compare Jordan to Rush? Love you, boss. That a boy. My man.
Reggie in Mississippi. Reggie, what's on your mind?
Hey, Dan, good morning. How you doing?
Uh-oh. What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong. I'm actually laughing. I'm at work.
Okay.
But Chad Rowe is on fire right now.
Why?
I mean, it's just the Beatles, Feinbaum. Somebody referred to, they asked which band that Feinbaum liked. They said he's from Memphis, so he's got to be 3-6 Mafia. So it's
that's Feinbaum's second favorite is 3-6. Didn't they win an Academy Award? Didn't
they did. Hard out here for a pimp.
Yeah. Hustle and Flow, I think.
Oh, I love that. Thanks for the phone call, Reggie. Hustle and Flow. Whew.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff, man. Terrence Howard was so good there. He just hoping somebody would hear his music. Thought he was going to be something. Jimmy in Chicago. Hi, Jimmy. What do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan. Just wanted to comment. I think it's amazing after all these years that the Beatles are still regarded as the best band. You know, when you ask that question, it's like they're always the first one you'll bring up.
Yeah.
But you got three of the best singers of all time in one band. Those Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison. Those are my top 5, top 10, definitely. And I think just the songwriting, like you said, and Lennon, McCartney, that duo, and Harrison writing all those great hits, they're up there. And that being said, I think the beauty of music is everyone can have their own favorite band, which is another cool thing. And I also would say that Led Zeppelin, I'm only 37, but I can put any song, I'll just throw them on, and 9 out of 10 songs, I'll just start rocking. Love Led Zeppelin. They might be the greatest rock band, in my opinion.
Well, I think if they were around longer, thank you, Jimmy. And look, I'm a big Zeppelin fan. That time that were we in Memphis, Paulie?
Yes, at the Peabody Hotel.
Oh.
I think it was for that AutoZone football thing with Manning's.
I think we were down there with Archie Manning.
Archie Manning.
And I went to the lobby. And all of a sudden, Robert Plant, the lead singer of Zeppelin, was sitting with his guys.
Your face was like very serious.
I didn't know what to do.
Yes.
I thought, oh my God, he doesn't know who I am, but he's got his band. And I thought maybe I walked around the table hoping that a member of his band would go, hey, Dan Patrick. And then I would go, oh, hey guys, how are you?
I can remember we were in the corner with beers. I'm like, just do a walk by.
I know.
Just keep doing laps until someone notices you.
I'm walking around the table. And I'm keeping, a safe distance. And here's Robert Plant. He's at the table, and he's just, he's casually dressed, jeans, T-shirt or something. And I'm going, it's Robert Plant. What do I do? It's like when there's a girl in the bar, and you go, I'm not going to go over and say anything. And your buddy goes, go, say something too. Paulie was the guy going, go. And then I never did it. And you know what? I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, it's the right move.
Yep.
It was the right move.
Because I know I would have screwed it up.
Yep.
Hi, Mr. Plant. I love you on Stairway to Heaven. Can I get a picture?
Hello, Mr. Page. I mean, Mr. Plant.
Ah! What are the off-season plans?
I'm getting married this off season, so that's on the list.
We got the invitation.
Training. Yeah, no, I know you guys saw it. I was in New York City all last week, and I knew you guys were in Miami, so the man cave was empty, and I just kept waiting for hey man, if you ever need to use it, it's open and it's free. The key's under the mat.
Yeah.
Never got that, so.
That's implied. I mean, I sent it out to your brother.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
No, Derek, the other brother, Derek. I sent it. I said,
Yeah,
look,
Derek.
I said if he needed a place to crash, he could come to the man cave here.
He doesn't talk to me, so that's must have been what happened.
No, I get it. So if you need somebody to there, maybe give a speech. I'm good at speeches. That I give a speech maybe at the wedding. You let me know. You know what I do?
I feel like that.
This is what I'll do for you. Free. I will announce the wedding party. That's it. That's all I'll do.
Oh,
I won't
that
even
would
stay.
That'd be great. Are you a rehearsed speech giver, or are you a paper speech giver? Or no?
I'll go as scripted. All right. And now, one of the groomsmen at 6'4", 250. Say hello to TJ Watt. What do you think?
I have chills.
I'm going to need the height and weight for your fiance. What?
Yeah, she'll love that.
And it bride.
And here's the bride's mother.
But I'll do that free of charge. I won't even stay for the wedding. I'll just, I know there'll be an open bar, but I won't even stay for that. I'll just go in there, and it would be my gift to you. I'll be the public address announcer, and then I'll go.
Oh, it'd be great.
Yeah.
If Seton could stop by so I could smash another pie in his face. I know it's been years since we've done that. So
you know what?
It's like instead of the cake.
Wedding cake, instead of smashing it in your fiance's face, you do it for Seton. You smash him.
I mean, guys, this is shaping up to be a great wedding. I don't know how we haven't had this in the works for years.
And Todd will be creepy. He'll hug all of the bridesmaids. Yes, Todd.
Todd, I forgot to mention this.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
Should we bring up? Yeah,
Yeah, go
it
ahead.
was coming.
Wait, what happened?
Yesterday, we were texting. Todd was trying to set up, get me on the show here, and we were texting. And Todd said, "Is there anything you want us to promote on the show for you, or anything plug?" And I said, no, I don't really have anything to plug. Just my ravishingly good looks, as a joke. And then all of a sudden, Todd texts back and goes, "No arguments there, my friend. You are truly handsome." Back off, Todd. All right?
Todd.
I got caught up in the moment. I was all excited. I was communicating with a friend. He was coming on, and I believe the exact words were, "No argument here, handsome," is what I have on my text.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'd like to
I had
apologize.
to delete the text because I didn't want my fiance to see it. I was a little worried.
I thought we had a moment there. Obviously, it was a one-sided situation.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
I did almost slap the floor with one hand there.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best interviews as we head towards the return of sports.
Cautiously optimistic.
Mike Florio on loan from ProFootballTalk.com. We've been at this a long time, and we know how negotiations go. It's been embarrassing with Dak Prescott.
The longer you wait, the more expensive it will get. The moment you know this is your guy, pay him and pay him now because it's not going to get any cheaper. He has them over a barrel. The only weapon the Cowboys have left, they just rescind the tender and make Dak Prescott a free agent. Who in the hell is going to pay him $31.4 million? Who can? Everybody's got their starters.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
My dad's dead.
This is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Wednesday. Dan and the Dan Patrick Show. We'll spend some time with Metta World Peace, former NBA player. He called like 4 minutes ago, and I went, wait, he's supposed to be on at about 25 after. He was just checking in. Metta World Peace will join us coming up. Sure, he's got some Michael Jordan stories for us. More phone calls coming up. We stumbled upon, well, McLovin was misled by somebody affiliated with the Chat Row that there was a big debate about the Beatles being overrated. And, of course, I fell for it. And then I found out that the Chat Row was not having this heated debate about the Beatles being overrated. But we did fill up some time and got some great phone calls, and people called McLovin an idiot. So, yeah, proved to be successful. Yes, Paul.
We have a new poll question based off today's show. It's a toughie. This is for you and for us and for the listeners. If you could have only one in studio for an hour and you'll never get the other one, Paul McCartney or Michael Jordan. So you pick one.
Paul McCartney.
Quick answer.
Yeah, Paul McCartney.
Because you've interviewed Jordan before?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Jordan's going to tell me that he hasn't told us in the documentary. And I am curious, does he put to rest the gambling? My questions are going to be, when he left basketball, will we get those answers? How deep was he into gambling? Did he ever bet on basketball? Did he ever bet on himself in a basketball game? Now, he's never been accused of that. But when you start to think about what would get him suspended, let's say he was suspended by the commissioner. Those are the rumors. They've been out there for a long time. What would it take for the commissioner of the NBA to say to Michael Jordan at the peak of his career, peak of his powers, I'm going to sit you down for 18 months? It can't be based off of losing $100,000 playing golf. Now, associating with criminals that you're gambling with in card games, I don't think that's going to get you suspended for 18 months. Just apply logic. I know it's rare in this sports world that we apply logic. I try to when I can. If I'm the commissioner, what would it take for me, if I was going to suspend him, what would it take? The only thing I can think of is if Michael bet on basketball. And the commissioner took this to his grave. If there was a story, we'll never know. Michael, I don't know how much they address it coming up, that he would gamble. I have a friend who's a golf pro in Vegas, and he said guys would wait for Jordan to come to town. Professional golf gamblers, where you don't get to touch your ball after you tee off, you don't touch your ball at all until it goes into the cup. They would wait. Guys would be lined up to want to play Michael because he said he was a 4, and they would take 6 figures off of him. True. The true story. But that doesn't make Michael, I mean, he's losing money. But in his world, what he's losing is if we lose $100 and he loses $100,000, does that mean that the commissioner is going to go, hey, you got to stop gambling? How bad was his gambling? He said he had a competitive problem. No, that's a gambling problem. That's what Pete Rose had. Pete Rose had a competition problem as well, and it's called gambling. You dress it up and say, oh, he's so competitive. Pete Rose had to have money on everything. Competition problem. No, It's a gambling problem. Now, you can say it's a gambling problem for those who don't have the money to cover their bets. Now, if it's golf, it's cards, and you can afford it. I've been in Tahoe where I've seen some big-time athletes be playing $50,000 hands of blackjack, and a couple of them at the same time. They had a special room there that they could go in, and it was, high-stakes gambling. I don't know what would have gotten Michael suspended, but if he did, that's the only thing I could possibly think of. And maybe it's just Michael was burnout. Maybe Michael just said, I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to go play baseball. Okay. We were shocked when it happened. I still, when I think about it, it's like God, he would stop and try to play baseball to honor his father and maybe get off the carousel here. Okay. But I have to accept it. It's like Isaiah Thomas and the Dream Team, and Michael didn't say, I don't want Isaiah on the team. Okay, I have to accept it. I don't think it's true, but I have to accept it. I don't know if he's going to change anybody's opinion on anything about him because he wasn't the best teammate. He was a rough opponent, But we accept it with Michael. With other athletes, we would never accept this. We pick and choose, and that's where we're hypocritical. Like Michael wasn't a great teammate. He didn't stand up for Scotty with his contract. He punched a couple of his teammates. On the court, he won. But off the court, or who he is as a person, I think that's still up for debate of how you view Michael. Jordan, no longer friends with Charles Barkley. They were friends for 20 years. And what Charles did, and he came on their show, and he critiqued Michael as an owner. Michael Jordan has not spoken to him since then. He'll hold a grudge. He's competitive. He wants to win. I don't know if anybody has a different opinion on Jordan when this is all said and done. I don't. Because I think you're going to look at him and say, all right, that's who he was in that time frame. I accept it. That's who he was. And probably that's who he still is. But we're hypocritical if LeBron did any of this stuff, any of it. Think about it. LeBron's out gambling. He's in Atlantic City the night before a game. He's associating with felons, guys with criminal records. He punched one of his teammates. I mean, come on. The debate is not a debate about Jordan and LeBron. It's not. But we pick on LeBron for the smallest things. Where Michael, man, ultimate competitor. Man, he's so competitive, he punched his own teammate. You got to love that. Hey, man, that guy was out gambling, and he could still come back and drop 40 on. Like, we created this. Like, it's crazy. What did LeBron do? Did you see where he had Taco Tuesday and he did that video with his family, his wife and kids at home?
What is he doing spending time with his family?
Yes. Get out. Go gamble. Don't you have a teammate to punch? Like it's crazy. It is.
Can you imagine if a player in the NBA now, let's say James Harden punched out a teammate, we'd say, what have you done to tell him to do this? How many titles have you won? You'd be crushed. Winning solves everything.
No, it does. And look, we're all fascinated with this. And I was watching Jordan do this to be able to interview him. It's one of the great moments of my broadcasting career. I got to cover, the greatest basketball player playing the greatest basketball of his life and got to see that up close and personal. I don't know him as a person. I've heard stories about him. I don't haven't socialized with him. I just admire from afar what he was able to do. But I do think we give him the ultimate hall pass because he won. Because if he didn't win, let's say he won 2 titles and acted this way, we would have a different opinion of Michael Jordan. And people are so nervous to say anything negative about Michael. They are. Even now. Like they're worried. Barkley gave you an honest assessment of Michael the owner. Now, did he go all in on him and maybe didn't leave himself some wiggle room that Mike might go, hey, You know, I get it, but ease up here. Or do you have to tell people that I'm not a good owner? Charles' job, give an opinion, but it cost you. You know, they're not friends anymore. So, but I look forward to the next 2 episodes where we're going to look at those who played with Jordan and those who played against Jordan and how he was. You're not going to be surprised when this is all said and done. I think this will reinforce the mythology around Michael Jordan because we didn't have social media. He would be available right in front of you before and after a game, but that was it. Now these players are so accessible. You know everything about them. You see all their comments. You get on Twitter. That's why we move on quickly. Like Golden State Warriors, if they played in the 90s, they would be loved. Now I'm talking about the original crew, not when they brought in Durant. We would be saying, oh, my God, unbelievable, because we wouldn't get tired of them. Jordan now, we would get tired of Jordan, believe it or not. And maybe his greatness wouldn't be as great as it was because it was back in the 90s. It's fascinating. It is fascinating to hear a new audience, new generation look at this and understand the competitive nature of this guy. He put out the documentary the day he agreed, the day LeBron won his title in Cleveland. That is, I mean, when you talk about competition, I mean, Mike can't play anymore, but he can play with your mind. And he's got the vault. So he had the ultimate weapon. He had the ultimate hand. This is a card player? He put down a royal flush. He went, oh, I'm sorry, LeBron's starting to sneak up there. People think he might be as good as me. How about this? How about we drop this on you? How about 10 part here? How about 10 hours on me? I know Ken Burns spent 9 hours on the Civil War, but hey, this is more important. My documentary's got 10 episodes here. Answer all the questions, see the footage, have everybody say nice things about me. All orchestrated, in my opinion, and brilliantly done. But that's what happens. Michael was going to find a way to beat you. And he just put away any notion that LeBron can be ever as good as him. Not going to happen. Let me get a couple of phone calls. Meta World Peace will join us coming up here. Oh, by the way, story is now starting to circulate that Patrick Ewing was on yesterday, and he told a story he'd never told before. He said somebody broke into his home in New York. And do we have Patrick talking about that from yesterday's show? Here's Patrick Ewing talking about his medals being from the Dream Team.
Obviously my medal.
Yeah.
I have my medal. I have the shoe, but I've moved so many times I can't find it. I have the medals, but it's funny because I had lost my medals because there was 92, and I moved so many times. I couldn't find both of my gold medals.
Oh boy!
And I was able to get it back. And I think my house got broken in New York at one point. And I think they stole my medals. So I was able to. I called to Jerry Colangelo, and it was great to be able to get me 2 replacement medals. So I have my medals and I have my uniform. And apart from that, I think everything is in storage somewhere.
Had you ever talked about losing your medals? Somebody stealing your medals before? I had not heard that.
No, this is the first time. And Jerry, I spoke to because I had to get replacement medals.
Oh,
but yeah, this is the first time that I really spoke about it.
Yeah, so that's Patrick Ewing from yesterday, and the story's starting to be picked up by other websites there. Paulie is bound and determined to find the person or persons who stole these gold medals from Patrick Ewing.
The word's out.
Yeah.
The word is out.
I came in, I said to Paulie, any luck in finding those guys? And he goes, nope, not yet. And Paulie he's serious here.
Yeah, I hope you don't think this is some radio bit.
No. I know you well enough.
We posted a reward. I'm thinking about taking a 3-day weekend, maybe a 4-day weekend over Memorial Day and really hitting the trail.
This is CSI. CSI stuff right here. I also use this analogy when it comes to Michael Jordan. Like Babe Ruth. Like if Babe Ruth did what he did back then and he did it now, where you're batting 340 and, hitting 50 home runs, but, your diet is hot dogs, women, and beer. it's a cute story. Like, oh, the Babe, man, he's chasing women. He's out drinking. We accept that, right? Like, we're okay with that. You're winning. You're hitting 50 home runs. Wilt Chamberlain didn't go to shoot-arounds. All the women in his life, did he take winning seriously? We're like, Wilt, man, he got out. He got after it. Babe got after it. Today's athlete, you don't get any room. There's no wiggle room there. Like, did you see LeBron got criticized for inserting himself in the Jordan documentary because he said, I almost cried when I saw Michael win his first title. So LeBron got criticized for saying, I almost cried watching Jordan after he won his first title. Yeah, Paul.
Jordan never cried
Yeah, of
watching
course.
you win your title.
Well, Jordan did cry.
He called ESPN and had a 10-part documentary made.
No, Jordan cried out loud, hey, let's get that documentary done. Open the vault there. Get Geraldo to open my vault and get that video out. Gosh. A couple of phone calls here. Dino in New York. Hi, Dino. What do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, sir.
Regarding MJ, I'll quote the great John Madden, winning is the great deodorant.
Yep.
I wanted to touch on the music for a second. I want your take on the great Pete Townsend. I think he's a little underrated in this topic. Very innovative with the use of synthesizers and being the first with rock opera, something that could be played in concert as a hard rock concert and then also be adapted to play with the London Philharmonic Orchestra is just astounding to me. And they're like epic pieces of music.
Oh, I think Townsend's brilliant. Even his solo album. He did a couple of rock operas. Not necessarily, Quadrophenia. Okay, he did it. It wasn't something I really loved. Yeah, see.
Yeah, I think the words rock opera count against him.
Well, it felt like Pink
That actually goes as a strike in the negative
Yeah.
column.
Jumbo
when you say
shrimp?
rock opera, I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
Well, Pink Floyd did sort of a rock opera. They had their anthemic, albums that, when they did Dark Side of the Moon or they did Animal, like that's sort of a rock opera theme type feel to it. But no, I'm a big Pete Townsend fan. When I saw him at Rupp Arena and we got to meet him backstage and he had a cast on his right hand and it was just shredded. So after the show, we get to see him. Kenny Jones, I think, was the name of the drummer, and John Entwistle. We didn't meet Roger Daltrey, but Townsend came out, and the cast on his right hand was shredded, and his fingers were all bloody from playing. I went, now that is badass right there. That's rock and roll. And I don't know why he had the cast on. He just had a cast on, and it looked like you could have just taken a piece of scissors and clipped it off. But that's one of those moments that just stay with you. I mean, it's not quite Green Day, but it's pretty close to it, Seton.
Well, you don't understand the complexities
of
Green Day, especially Nimrod.
And Dookie, I got to stay in my lane here. Yes, McLovin. Yes, stay in my lane.
You've told this story before, but you had tickets to the concert where
Yes, I
people died, right?
In Cincinnati.
That's amazing.
Yep. Had a ticket. I kept that ticket, and we didn't go in. I kept that ticket. I don't know where it went. I had it in my mom's house, but I had the actual ticket to that night when those 11 people died in Cincinnati. All right, we'll take a break. Meta World Peace, more phone calls coming up as well. And are we going to go with the poll question? We could have Michael Jordan or Paul McCartney in studio.
Yeah, it's up on danpatrick.com. Vote away.
Well, do you guys agree with me? Would you want McCartney or you want Michael Jordan in here? Yeah, McLevin.
I think McCartney's a little more accessible. Didn't he do Stern recently?
He's on there. Yeah, he's on there a few times. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, I feel like Jordan's so rare that I'd like to see you sit for an hour with Jordan.
All right. Yeah, Paul.
I'm with McLovin. I've heard a lot of Paul McCartney interviews over the past 15 years. I think you are going to get more out of Jordan, a lot more than the average interviewer, if you know what I mean.
Well, I would get more, but I would enjoy being around Paul.
We would enjoy you getting more out of Jordan,
Yeah, I know.
who's been a rock for the past 30 years. And he never talks, and he usually says very little when he does.
Yeah.
Even this documentary, it's all him. You would swing for the fences because it's 1 hour, one time.
What about you, Fritzy?
Definitely Jordan.
All right.
I'm not a huge Beatles person, but regardless, I agree with the other guys. What you could possibly get out of MJ after all these years of trying to get him on recently, that would be a must listen, you and MJ.
All right. So where do we stand with getting Jordan on? And McCartney. Seton, who do you want to hear? Seton?
Oh, sorry. Did you call on me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't getting any audio.
Oh.
I would go with McCartney.
Okay.
Because I don't think that there's as much scandal there. Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think that there's as much scandal there with Jordan as people think. I think ultimately that story is going to be disappointing.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to get anything about gambling or, but I do think that there would be fun stories that he would tell. Yeah, Paul.
Fritzy's going to book Jenny McCarthy and Michael B. Jordan for tomorrow's
That's
show.
okay.
That's the best I could do.
Shoehorn
Just
that in.
Work with me.
I'll take it, Todd. If you say
try.
I got Jordan and McCartney on the show tomorrow, I'm okay. Or Jordan and McCarthy, so Jenny McCarthy.
It's close enough, right?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
All right, 21 after the hour. Meta World Peace will join us coming up. Dan Patrick Show. You check your email, you're checking your text messages, you check things all the time. Your Instagram, how about something important like your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing so for free. Even if you're not a customer, checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. And once again, limitations apply. How did you develop a great friendship with Larry Bird?
You know what? It was strange. It was ironic because I hated the Celtics growing up.
And you played in Boston.
I grew up in Boston. I didn't like the Celtics. I was a Sixers fan, and Larry and I got to be great friends during the Dream Team. And it's funny. He talked so much trash. Always talk trash. Talk trash on the phone, on the floor. It was talking so much trash during the Dream Team, and that's how it started. He's always talking trash to me, talking trash to the rest of the players. So I'm talking trash back to him, and it just clicked. We just always talking trash to each other. Started hanging out. Going to dinner, going to lunch, and just spending a lot of time around each other, and we just developed a very good friendship.
Did he talk trash on the floor?
Oh, definitely. I think that story you talked about X. I think that's one of the stories you got from me.
Oh,
you
Xavier
you might have got it from me, but he always talked trash. I remember he talked trash against us, talked trash with against everyone else. But the difference is he could back it up. I remember, like I was saying, growing up in Boston, people all used to always talking about that he can't jump, he can't do this, he can't do that. And, a lot of my friends was like that, So, I got to the league. I called all my friends back up. I said, all that trash that you were talking, you need to squash all that. This man is great. He can, whatever you were saying for a man who can't jump, he's demolishing everybody.
So your guys are saying, how can you let this guy?
Oh, he's doing it on everybody. He's doing it on everybody. He's doing it on the best defensive players in the league.
Yeah. What do you have for the movie? What'd you say besides the trophy?
I have the headband, which I just brought onto the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon. It was fun. Last week.
You put it on.
I put it on. I did. I went all in for the Tonight Show. It was fun, and he was great. He was great. We had a great time, and I have the '47 Ford convertible. I have the wax on, wax off car. Yeah. So I just hoard all the stuff.
That's great, though, that they.
I have a can of tuna fish from my cousin Vinny. That's all I got. I stole a can of tuna. I'm not going to open that can of tuna since that was 1992. The Outsiders, I have my sneakers and my
your leather jacket.
It was a denim jacket.
Denim jacket. Did you have like Chuck Taylor Converse? What were your shoes?
They were Converse.
They were Converse. Yeah. Low cut.
Yep.
See, I would have taken the house, Mr. Miyagi's house, over the car.
The house, interesting story. The house, after shooting the first movie, the studio didn't have the wherewithal to say, let's purchase this house. Because when we went back for part two, after the second one, the house was gone. So they had to rebuild the house on the Warner Brothers ranch.
Wait, where was the house?
It was somewhere in the middle of the San Fernando Valley.
So, did they steal the whole house or knock it down?
I think they knocked it down.
Oh my
I think they didn't know about it.
We appreciate it when you send in the picture of the trophy. Now, the trophy is in one of your kids' rooms?
It's in my son's room right now.
Okay. That's
And
a
it
big
has-
trophy.
It's a big It's a big trophy.
Now, that
Yeah,
was not just South Valley. That was all Valley.
It was all Valley.
All Valley.
And under 18, though.
Oh, it was under 18,
Yeah,
all Valley.
I never won anything once I passed 18. I played 18 for 27 years.
Do you have any other trophies?
Do I have any trophies? I had them from Little League. Back then, I'm sure they're next to the box of stuff that my mom gave with all the.
But you kept
all the-
that one.
Yeah, that one I kept.
But we have to put that in a safe place, though. Don't you have to put it like in the Smithsonian? or something?
Listen, from your
Has
lips,
anybody ever asked? Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT four-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our celebrity interviews from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the DP Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. He's Ron Artest. He's also Meta World Peace. Meta World Peace joining us on behalf of X versus X Sports, a platform bringing together sports professionals, players, and enthusiasts, and facilities the building of offline and online sports communities. Also, Meta has a book, No Malice, My Life in Basketball, available online and wherever books are sold. Meta World Peace, who was, I believe, drafted by the Bulls the year after Michael Jordan retired. Meta, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for, plugging and always supported. That's much appreciated. Today, it's going well. We trying to get over COVID-19.
Now, what was it like that you go to the Bulls right after Jordan decides that he's going to retire? What was that feeling like that you come to town and then Mike's not even going to be there?
It was an honor, right, to be drafted by the Bulls. I know everything about the Bulls as a kid. They were my favorite team, very similar to how people love Kobe, how people love LeBron, and you don't really get it until you take a step back and you watch The Last Dance. It's like, oh, wow, I really love, the Bulls, and I felt honored to be drafted to the Bulls.
And then you played he went to the Wizards. I don't know how many times you played against him, but I think he probably had close to 30 on you guys when you played against him. How many times did you face Jordan?
I faced Jordan in the summertime. I love Jordan, a great player. Then I also faced him right when he came back, and he was averaging 25 that year. So I faced a really good, older Michael Jordan, and then I faced the declining older Michael Jordan. I think the next year, his productivity went down, but the first year he came back, he was playing amazing.
What was it like to guard him?
It was amazing because he was still able to score. He averaged 25 points, the first year he came back. And, anybody that's averaging 25 points is going to be a problem. And it wasn't easy. He could score the ball.
Did he talk?
Jordan talked. I never got in any trash talking with Jordan. The closest things Jordan's ever said to me was when I was 19 years old and we were playing basketball, he was saying, hey, come back and play, in the summer times.
Oh, wow.
And because I competed against him so hard, and that was an honor. to continue to get back invited. He really and wanted me to guard him also. So it was great.
How did you break his ribs?
It was an accident, so he was, for me, when you let Jordy get the ball, he's going to score. And the only way you can keep him from scoring is if you don't let him get the ball. So I was denying him, and my left hand went over his left shoulder or his left arm. My right arm was positioned to move him out the way and gain position. His left arm had me locked. I remember the play clear as day because he's like my favorite players. And then the referee called the offensive foul on Jordan because he was holding, and I was just trying to fight to get in front. It was summertime. It was an open run with referees, and it was great. But, unfortunately, I broke his ribs, and I felt like he was going to average 35 that year because he was playing so well. People didn't really see what I saw, but he came back after 3 months of just taking a break, and he averaged 25. And he's just really amazing.
How many would he average given today's rules where there's no hand check in here, everything's spread open here? What's Jordan average? Peak Jordan, 1991-92. What's Jordan average today?
Well, I would say about the same. I'm not going to say it's going to be any better because, I think it would be about the same. Maybe, he averaged 28 as a rookie. Nobody's averaging 28 as a rookie, right? So he would probably have done the same thing.
But I think everything is spread open. Everybody's on the perimeter, and Mike loved that 15 to 18-foot jumper, and he could take you to the hoop. He's averaging 40 a game, Meta.
Well, you can't touch him, absolutely, because he's so fundamentally sound. He's always on balance, so it's really tough to guard. But I can't see him. James Harden is averaging, 38 right now?
Yeah, but Mike would be better than James Harden.
Well, on defensively, yeah, but 38 is 38, right?
Yeah, but Mike averaged that one. Didn't he average 37.1 one year?
I think he averaged that, but I don't think he did. I don't think he ever averaged 38.
He's going to average 4. There's nobody at the rim to stop him. Who were the great rim protectors? The Lopez brothers?
It's true because, the rim protection is coming back. We all know American Bigs was not producing over the last maybe 5 years, but now rim protection is coming back. But you're right. I think Jordan, it's just hard to say because you can't really see it. But yeah, somewhere around 35 to 40.
What's the difference of guarding Jordan and guarding Kobe?
They're very similar. Jordan's just, I would say Kobe's more of a modern day Jordan, right? And Jordan's probably a more polished Dr. J, and it's a very, very similar. Jordan is more on balance, than Kobe was, but they both were very effective. As we know, they played the same exact way.
He's Metta World Peace joining us on the program. Tell me if you approached Kobe about winning a title together, but you weren't on the Lakers when you approached Kobe about winning a title. Do I have that story right?
This story is correct. Well, it wasn't about winning the title, but I did approach him. So after they lost in 2008 to Boston Celtics, I went to that game because I wanted to get some experience on how it is to be in a championship building. So I went to that game. They lose by 30. I'm like, oh, wow, this is an amazing atmosphere. This is what I'm going to expect when I get to the championship games. So then I go back to say bye to Lamar. And then I see Phil Jackson, and I say, hey, where's Kobe? I want to say good game. I'm a big fan. I also interviewed Kobe that year also. When I did an interview with Kobe. And so I'm a fan, and then he was in the shower. I wanted to leave, and then Brian Shaw said he's in the back, and I went to the back. And I just said, hey, tapped him on the shoulder. He was just kind of mad because they just lost. He was real surprised to see me in the shower. And I just said, I got to go, but I wanted to say good game before I got out because I'm really proud of you. You did a good job. And that was it. It wasn't really saying I wanted to play with you.
Okay.
I was with the Kings at that time. So,
How long did you wear your jersey after the Lakers won the title? Full uniform. How long did you keep it on?
Well, I think I kept a lot of it on for a couple of days. I know I took off I had my shirt on, and then I had my windbreakers on. I still had my ankles taped. Not my ankles, I had my wrists taped. We did go to a club, so I did go to the club, like maybe 4 or 5 clubs that night. Went to the studio. Dr. Dre recorded me. It was crazy. It was just a crazy night, man.
Wait, you're with Dr. Dre?
Yeah, I was just all over the place in LA. I went to the studio and my record Champions came out. So Dr. Dre actually produced Champions Part 2, which I never put out. Still somewhere in his hard drive.
I love that. And then you wore 37 for a little while.
Yeah, I wore 37, yeah.
Yeah, but was that actually... once again, you probably have told these stories so many times. I just like to get fact and fiction here. That Michael Jackson's Thriller was #1 on Billboard charts for 37 straight weeks, and that's how you chose 37.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I was trying to figure out. It was like a lot of things. I'm like, what's great? Like, what can you do?
That's great.
That's like amazing. And I was trying to put numbers to greatness, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty great. 37 weeks at #1. Wow, that's huge.
And okay, and why were you drinking Hennessy at halftime of a game, if that's true, when you were with the Bulls? Is that true that you drank Hennessy at halftime?
That was a blur. I don't remember things like that.
Well, first of all, Hennessy? Come on.
When I was a younger player, I was just, as y'all know, I was a reckless. As you know, I was a reckless kid.
Yeah, a little bit, well, but I love your honesty. Every time I talk to you, the fact that you sold your championship ring and you donated the proceeds from that. I mean, there's a lot of greatness in your heart there, and I hope you're at a good spot in your life, and what you're doing with X versus X Sports. I hope things are good for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate it. Every athletes go through things, and it was the same back then. Athlete is always trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then it's the same in the future. So right now, it's just important that we at least could be a support system for any athletes that potentially could be, feeling a certain way. And now I think they know they have a huge support system.
But you were one of the first that did this, though, Meta. You came out and you talked about mental health. We've seen some of these athletes, Michael Phelps, Kevin Love. You came out and started talking about this. And, people can look at you 2 different ways. Like, that guy's crazy, or that guy, the first sign of needing help or asking for help is being honest with people. And I viewed it as, you're just saying, look, I need help. I'm figuring this out myself. Don't look at me as, well, that's the crazy guy who started the Malice in the Palace there. I mean, there was honesty there. And you put yourself out there.
Absolutely. Why not? Why not? It's a lot. Because, in this world, we try to put on the image. If you're an athlete, you're trying to get endorsements. You're going to put on the image accordingly, right? And, the image is not always reality, right? So sometimes you have to show the reality and the realness, and people can relate. And some people need something to relate to. Because when you look on the commercials, that's just not all real, right? All the time, with the exception of, you have a really great family and orange juice in the morning. Sometimes, you have a little, sometimes you have an argument at night, right?
It's a little different than how you grew up in New York, right?
It's a little different. But now I have orange juice in the morning, right?
Yeah. The book is No Malice. It's my life in basketball. X versus X Sports. It's a platform bringing together sports professionals, players, enthusiasts, and online, offline sports community. You got a basketball hoop at the house?
I had to build one, man, because I just thought I can go play basketball. And March 11th, when, the quarantine kind of was set, I ordered a hoop off a website. And, I don't want to give this website any more pub than it's already getting. Amazon.
Hey, Steph Curry did the same thing. Steph Curry moved into a house that didn't have a hoop, Meta.
I know. I was surprised to see that. I'm like, I know I don't have a hoop, but Steph, that's unacceptable.
But you know what I'm thinking? He's so good as a shooter, he doesn't need to practice.
No, it's true. It's true. He's probably the rim is waiting for him. You know what? And it was the hardest thing putting together the bottom of it was the worst. I was so frustrated. I was mad in my backyard, screaming at myself. What's going on? It was the most frustrating thing. I'm sweating bullets.
Oh, that's great.
I got to put it together. It was great.
You got to pay people to put that stuff together for you.
But you know, I'm going to be locked down for a month. I need to learn something. I might have to take up a trade. I didn't know what was happening. When the quarantine happened, I said, okay, I got to take a trade.
That's great.
So
Hey, great to talk to you. Always great. We appreciate your time and good luck with X versus X, and of course the book that's available wherever books are sold.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Appreciate
All right,
you guys.
that's Meta World Peace. Always one of our favorites. Oh, he's just honest. He's raw, man. I love that. All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls coming up. Do non-funny people try to make you laugh?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Like, do they want to try to?
Oh yeah. The worst, not the worst, but it's weird when people try to do like voices and stuff around me or impressions, and you just go, "Oh, don't. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay." That's not what Nicolas Cage sounds like.
We did those for Jay Farrow.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We went around the room, and I know exactly.
Oh,
but it was funny
Oh, no.
because it was awkward.
yeah.
Like Fritzy will do. Fritzy's pretty good at some impersonations.
All right.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Here we go.
You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder, kid. I say you can't win.
Burgess Meredith Rocky.
All right.
Okay. Wow.
That was
Okay, you didn't lead with your
that was
best.
all right. That was good.
Okay.
Now that you explained it to me, it was great.
Okay.
I'm the greatest fighter in the world. No one can beat me. I'm
Oh,
the
that's
greatest fighter.
good. That's good.
Edith Hart and Edith's children. Praise be Allah.
Are you being
that's
nice?
really good. No, that is good.
Okay.
That is good.
Marge Simpson.
Hey, Bill Hader's in studio. That's pretty cool. How'd you get him on the show?
Well, you know.
Oh, my bad.
6.7. 6.7.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Seton, do you do an impersonation?
Not in front of Bill Hader.
I don't think I do.
Oh, no. It's good if you do it in front of Bill Hader.
I bomb. No, this is good. Come on, I bomb all the time.
See, because I was feeling comfortable, and now
Okay.
He did it. Come on.
Come on, Fritzy did it.
I don't. What impressions do I do? Brett Favre. I do one-word impressions.
What's that?
Like,
Is that an
like
impression
Brett
if you do
Favre.
a one-word impression?
Brett Favre, he says anything that somebody asks him, he just repeats it back to them and says, "Of course."
Of course.
Okay. That's a forced laugh on Bill's
Yeah,
part.
No,
I'll take it.
Martin Short one time, because Martin Short sometimes will just be like, we'll say somebody and he'll just throw it out at me. Like, and one time someone said Fred Gwynn. He goes, "Bill, do Fred Gwynn." And I just went,
Not many
just a
people.
yawn.
But you had. Are you doing Herman Munster there?
Yeah. I just have to quickly do something.
But then you did Martin Short there too.
Yeah.
In the
Bill, do it.
Paulie, I don't think you do impersonations, do you?
No, not now.
No, you can do it.
Andrew Luck.
Okay. Are you?
It's just.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there's nothing else to it.
That's good.
Thank you.
He's being polite. McLovin, you don't do one, do you?
Sure don't.
Okay.
I mean, I could just get my general British.
No, that's not. No, that's not good.
Hello, Governor.
Yeah, that's not good either. Do you wish you left now, Bill? Did you?
I just like him throwing you under the bus
Oh,
before you've done
absolutely.
anything. You're like, "Oh no, I could get out of here." No, shut up. Don't embarrass me.
I love Bill Hader. He's one of those guests where he makes you look good. No matter what you ask, he'll make you look good with his hand. Will Ferrell's like that. Bryan Cranston's like that. Oh, someone get up from their nap? This is a COOKIE. And what's your name, little girl? What's your name? Hi, you must be Penny. Penny a la vodka. Sit. Give me your paw. That one. Give me that other paw. That one. Do we want to do the trick? Okay, sit. No, sit. That. And then I'm going to go like this. You did it! You found it! Yeah! You did it, Pen Pen. Oh. Hey, Dukes, why don't you send us some more cookies here? We certainly give you a lot of attention here. Maybe Chewy can help and send us some stuff. This girl needs to eat. Yes, she does. See you, Penny. Man, I get sidetracked on this show, and sometimes 3 hours just isn't enough time. Every day I come in and I go, I don't know if we can fill up 3 hours. And then we get close to being done, and I go, I didn't even get to the Kevin Durant story today. There's a chance that he'll be coming back, that he'll be healthy. They're a playoff team. He comes back. Yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know. I never wanted him to be forced back or feel like he was being forced back to play, like, with Golden State. And maybe he made that decision on his own. But, when the owner came out during the playoffs and said, yeah, we expect him back, expecting back and hoping to have somebody back is completely different. Got a winner on Fritzy's scoreboard. Joel in Oregon is the big winner today. Fritzy is numbers 20 and 88. Have a seat. And you look glazed. I'm going to go 20. Kerry Wood struck out 20 Houston Astros. You look glazed. 88. 88.
Donut reference?
Doing donuts. Todd, you got to turn on your mic. Todd?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, when you turn on your mic.
Does that help when the mic is on?
Yes, it does.
There is a donut reference to.
Is this somebody winning a race doing donuts?
No.
Oh.
But it is something that happened in 1988, thus the 88.
Okay, glazed.
It's fun. Think of what would be a donut reference in the history of sports.
A shutout? Ofer?
Uttered by a frustrated coach in the National Hockey League.
Oh, have another donut.
1988 Donut Gate. New Jersey Devils coach Jim Schoenfeld.
It was not donut.
Koharski.
It's not Donut Gate. Not everything's gate.
How would anyone guess that based off just the number 88? Just looking at number 88.
That's a tough one. The first one was easy, carried with the 20 strikeouts, and the second one was tougher. But he did say, eat another donut, you fat pig, and got suspended. And here's how it sounded.
You're crazy. You're crazy because you fell, you fat pig. Have another donut.
Is that Don Koharski?
Sure was.
Was that it? Oh, my God.
He got ripped by Schoenfeld. And,
oh, yeah.
Very entertaining.
Oh, yeah. All right, so that's Fritzy's scoreboard challenge there. Mary in Missouri. Hi, Mary. Thanks for holding. What do you have for me?
Hi, guys. This is a real pleasure.
Well, thank you.
First time, a really, 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 really long time. I'm 5'3", 120, and I saw the Beatles August 28th, 1966 at Dodger Stadium.
Nice. Do you remember any? Could you hear? I'm sure all of the girls were screaming.
Could not hear them.
You didn't hear the Beatles?
I couldn't hear them. They were on second base. They ran out from the dugout, and they had the band set up on second base. And all you could hear was screaming and girls being carried out left and right. It was wonderful, though. I remember like it was yesterday. I was 13 years old.
Oh.
$5.50.
Good for you. Thank you, Mary, for sharing that. Yeah, I never got to see the Beatles. I've been fortunate to have seen most. I never saw Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I saw Crosby, Stills, Nash, but I didn't get to see Neil Young with them. I love that band together. MJ in Indiana joins us. Hey, MJ, what do you have for me today?
DP, what a great show today, my man.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Hey, just want to jump in on the Beatles thing. First of all, whichever one of the Danettes clapped and chanted overrated, they should be banned from the Traeger lunch on Friday for sure.
Wow.
The Beatles are definitely the best of all time. Want to turn you on to, and you may remember, George Harrison album, late 70s, early 80s, 33 1/3. Remember that one? Fantastic album. If not, Google it up. You'll go, wow, that's vintage George Harrison.
All right. Well, thank you, MJ. Yeah, it's McLovin who's got a problem with the Beatles. That's what it comes down to.
Wait, chat row's killing me all show, Dan. Help me out here. They're mean.
How can I help you out? I can only pray for you that you will find the light and it will be the Beatles and you'll listen to it. I mean,
okay.
that you're in my prayers to actually find good music. I pray for you at night. I
Everyone's
get down
pointing
on
out-
my knees and I say, and dear Jesus, help McLovin listen to good music. Yes, McLovin.
People are killing me for saying hold my hand is the whole genre. They're just killing me. I never said that.
No, you said that. You always go, oh, I can't believe you. They did hold my hand, that's just so poppy. I go, but they started with that. They ended with this intricate stuff. Crazy.
The Stones started with Paint It Black. That was their first song.
Well, the Stones are great. They're the greatest rock and roll band of all time.
Plus, they were just copying songs from other people anyway, so it was a lot easier for them.
Yeah.
Specifically the Beatles, to be honest.
It was a lot easier for them to re-record other people's songs. So,
final results of the poll. This day in sports history. What do you have for me?
Babe Ruth, 1915, got his first
overrated.
His first major league home run while playing completely hungover for the Boston Red Sox. He also won his pitching debut the same day. I made up the hungover thing. 1946, New York Yankees became the first major league ball club to fly by plane between games. 1995, this is ironic, ESPN Classics started on ESPN.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when that started. And it was a big deal at the time. It's like, oh, we get to watch the classics. And then they stopped. I think it's still listed on some channels where it'll be ESPN Classic. Fritzy, what did you learn on today's program?
I learned Paul Feinbaum says he doesn't see college football being played without fans and without students back on campus.
All right. We'll talk to Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz tomorrow on the program about that. McLovin?
I learned that both Todd and Paul missed the 18-year anniversary of Allen Iverson's practice rant.
Oh,
Practice?
That's a good one.
Oh, Fritzy. That
Talking
would
about practice?
That would have been a good. You could have put 3 up there.
Could have put 3 up there, yeah.
Yeah, scoreboard.
I still like my donut one.
He would have put like the number 47 up there.
Yeah, I
That would
know.
have been like, this was said 47 times in the year.
No, you're right.
What?
He would have done it. How many
Gotta
times
make it a
did he
little
say
complicated.
practice that day?
That would have been good.
Yeah,
'cause
thank
they
you. Todd.
played that enough.
Thank you, Todd. Seton, what'd you learn today?
I learned the Beatles are still king.
Yeah.
Never get tired of talking Beatles.
Yeah. But did you learn that? You already knew that.
I guess.
You relearned it?
Yeah. Well,
Reinforced.
you can be reinforced. You
Yeah,
can
reinforced.
yeah.
Paulie, what'd you learn today?
Paul Feinbaum, big Neil Young fan.
Yeah. He said that Neil was always depressing, and that fit Paul's mood when he was in college at the time. Todd, what did I learn today?
You're all in on Paulie's idea to celebrate Seis de Mayo.
Yes, I'm going to kill it tonight.
We should.
This Mother's Day, 1-800-Flowers has limited delivery, so it's important to lock in your order today. Right now, 1-800-Flowers, beautiful Mother's Day gifts and bouquets. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the radio icon, enter code Patrick. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Talk to you tomorrow.